Islam, peace, love, and prosperity to all of humanity on planet Earth. This is Abdul Smith Al Kabir, Sultan of the Empire of Morocco, and today we'll be discussing the festivities that's got our bellies full. Yeah, I know many of you may say that you don't celebrate it, but hey, we got a lot of family that celebrate it and are still caught up in the misunderstanding as to what that holiday really represents. And so, of course, we'll partake. Ain't nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's noble to view it as a family and friend celebration. So that's not the issue per se. What we need to know, however, is the history, right, that surrounds the celebration. How many of you has ever heard of the Treaty of Granada, the Surrender Treaty of Granada? Has any of you ever heard it?
Islam, I have.
Okay, what is it about?
Sunni Muslim. The Treaty of Granada, that's involving Queen Isabella and what's his name? Fernando. Uh,
Yeah,
Fernandez.
Ferdinand.
Right. That's whenever they signed a treaty with the kind of like get the Moors out of Spain. We had been ruling Spain for over 700 years. So they had write a treaty to kind of like get us to agree to, you know, uh to abandon Spain or whatever. And I'm under the impression too that that's also where that April Fool's trick had came from as well. Um, and later on, you notice how Christopher Columbus came about and so-called discovering the Americas. Um,
Mhm.
and that's really as much as I got right now as to
Well, I
that
mean that's
found
I mean
on it.
that's excellent. That's excellent. So, um, do you care to read for me since you broke that down so eloquently?
Okay, I'll read it.
Okay, then straight to it. Start from the title.
1 second. Let me turn this TV off. Okay, I'm here. Uh, this is the surrender treaty of the Kingdom of Granada. November the 25th, 1491. Source: Early Modern Spain. A doctrine, a documentary history. Uh, I guess that's read John Colwyn's page 15 through 19. First, that the Moorish king and the military chiefs, jurists, judges, religious advisors, governors, learned men, and all of the commanders and men of substance, and all of the commoners of the city of Granada, including the Al-Basifin, however you pronounce that, and its surrounding areas, shall with love, peace, and goodwill within the next 40 days turn over to his highnesses or to this agent, the fortress of the Alhambra and the Alhazan with all their towers and gates and all other fortresses, towers, and gates of the city of Granada and the Albiacin and the surrounding areas extending out into the countryside so that they may occupy them in this name with this people and at their
I don't know
at
why I
their
cut off there, but let's
okay.
stop there for a second. What date? What's the date? November 25th,
Yep,
1491.
1491.
Was that 5 centuries ago? 534 years ago. Oh, King Boabdil is what they called him. Signed this treaty to do what? First, that the Moorish king. So you see, we start off talking about the Moors off top. That's who we are. This whole thing about the Moors sold us out. No, it's yeah, but it's not like the Moors are somebody else. It's you sold your damn self out. You are the Moor. It's like saying I'm not black because black people sold us out. Farrakhan is black. He sold. Well, I ain't gonna say him, but let's say Al Sharpton. I know people got love for Farrakhan. Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton sold us out. He's black. No, it's just Al Sharpton who did it. Doesn't change your who you are. This is something that's very important for the Moors to recognize, and also the ish thing. Oh, we're not ish, it's Moors. It's when there's no ish. Ish means it's like. Did you look up the definition? Because ish means or denotes two nationality. Period. It also means something like and all that, but there's like five different meanings to ish. The first meaning is nationality. It denotes the nationality. British, Danish. So you see here Moorish, king. And the military chiefs, look, this is highlighting our government structure. We have, that's what we did. It's our thing. We had governments. Why is it that we don't have governments now? The Moorish king and the military chiefs, jurists, judges. We had chiefs, we had jurists, we had judges, religious advisors, governors, learned men. So you think that this governor thing comes from the Europeans? No, it's a Moorish title. And all of the commanders and men of substance and all of the commoners of the city of Granada, right? So all those people, all the authority are to surrender. This is what we're starting to see the celebration is all about. All the way up to the drop, the fall of the dropping of the ball. January 1st, 1492. Continue, brother. At the end of the 40 days, let's take a look.
Okay. At the end of the 40 days, all the Moors shall surrender to their highnesses freely and without coercion, and they shall do what good and loyal vessels are obliged to do for their kings and natural lords, and to assure secure
You see
conditions.
that? Hold on a second. You see that right there? You see how they? You,
All right.
come on, man! Like they punking them. They punked our ancestors. At the end of 40 days, all the Moors shall surrender to their highnesses, right? Freely and without coercion, and they shall do what good and loyal vassals are obliged to do for their kings and natural lords. This is the reason why Boy Abdul has a bad stain on his name. He acquiesced to those conditions, those terms, that language back in 1492. Continue, brother.
Okay. And to assure secure conditions during their surrender, one day ahead of surrendering the fortresses, they shall offer as hostages the minister Joseph Abin Kazineksa with 500 persons, children, and siblings of the leading citizens of the city and of the Al Bayasin and its surrounding areas, so that they may remain under the power of their highnesses for 10 days while the fortresses are surrendered and secured, placing people in them supplies in them. And during all of this time, they shall be given everything they need for this su- sustenance,
Sustenance.
sustenance
Sustenance.
of sustenance. And once all is surrendered, they will be freed. Freed.
Hmm.
Okay. Once the fortresses are surrendered, their highnesses and the prince, Don Juan, their son, shall for themselves and for the monarchs who the succeed the receive as their vessels and natural subjects, the king Abi Abdullah,
No, Abdilehi.
Abdullahi, okay, Abdullahi, and
And
the
Don
military.
Juan. Somebody named Don Juan. The son named Don Juan. I see what
Right.
it always bugs me out when I see that. That's where Don Juan comes from, a treaty from back in 1491. Imagine that. Continue, bro. It
Okay. And the all right, monarchs who succeed
was in the
the
military governors.
and the military governors, judges, jurists, religious advisors, learned men, governors, commanders, and squires,
Why? Mhm.
and all the greater and lesser common people, including men and women, inhabitants of Granada, and the Albisan and its surrounding areas and its fortresses, villages, and other places, and also of the Alpujores and of
Gujarat.
other. Yeah, they messed me up with all those words. They foreign to me. Excuse me, Moors, and of all the places that fall under this accord and treaty in any way, and they shall be allowed to stay in their houses, estates, and inherited properties at that time and forever. And they will not be allowed any harm or damage to be done to them without intervening, nor shall their goods or their estates be taken away from thee, nor even
From
any
thee,
part of
like from thee.
right,
Yeah.
nor any nor any part of
Mhm.
them, but rather they will be re,
Revered.
revered, honored, and respected by their subjects and vessels as ark. All of those who live under the government and rule.
And that's not vessels, that's vassals, right?
Right.
And so you see houses, estates, inherited properties. You see the status that we once had. You see what we once before in the world, on the world stage. It was us who's always had estates and castles and fortresses and mansions and inherited properties and land, and now they are controlling those assets. They don't own it. They don't own it. They control it. We own it. And that's why they don't want to see the empire rise. They don't want to see the Moroccan nationality come back alive because that's who the contract is with, which means at the very least, you have a very good chance of making um, the proper claim to regain your lost estate. It's not happening under any other title. or identity. Moorish king, you just read it. Moors. You think this is limited to Granada? You will find out that Boabdil the king ended up getting exiled into Morocco. Hmm, imagine that. That's where he died, in Morocco. This is all connected between here and over there. This was the land of the sacred land, the secret land that no one knew about. That's why that's why Christopher Cristobal Colon, that's his real name. Christopher Columbus, Colombo, Colon. He needed who? The converso Moors to get them over here because they didn't know this existed. And they didn't even make it all the way to the mainland. This is Thanksgiving. Continue, brother. On the day,
On the day when King Abi, can you tell me that name one more time, Sultan? Abadillahi shall surrender.
um, um, Ab- Abdullahi, yeah, Abdullahi.
Abdullahi. All right. On the day when King Abi Abdullahi shall surrender the fortress and towers, their highnesses shall order that his son shall be returned to him, along with all the hostages and their wives and children, with the exception of those who have converted to Christianity. Those highnesses and their successors forever shall be King Abi Abdullahi and his military chiefs, judges, religious advisors, governors, commanders, and other men of substance and of the greater and lesser commoners live under their own law, and they shall not allow anyone to take away their mosque or minarets or musings, nor shall they take away the endowed properties of their mosque and the rents they receive, nor shall they interfere with their ways and customs.
No, so you see, our these are our buildings. Again, governors, commanders, this is what we're made out of. Military chiefs, judges, religious advisors. Then you also had the commoners. What was interesting? Can't take away the mosques and the minarets, whatever that means, or the muezzins. We need to look these things up. Nor shall they take away the endowed properties of their mosque and the rents they
Islam.
receive.
Point of order.
Yes.
A minaret. A minaret is the thing that you get in and say the adhan. You know, in the towers that they scream the adhan out of. That's what a minaret is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate that, yeah. Hmm. Right? But the rents they receive, man. This is in 1492, before and after. We've always been the landlords. Did you see how you're talking greasy to us in this treaty in the beginning? Your highness and all this, man. Come on. I'll take over here for a second and then we'll switch it over. The Moors shall be judged under their own laws. Hmm? The Moors shall be judged under their own laws and courts. So we already had laws and we already had courts. Where did that go? Black man, where's your laws and your courts? You are that Moor they're talking about. By the Islamic law, they are accustomed to observing under the authority of their judges. Neither at this time nor at any future time shall their highnesses take their arms and horses away, or allow these to be taken away, except for their large and small artillery, which they must promptly turn over to agents sent by their highness. They don't want, they don't, that's not a good proposition to let the Moors hold on to the artillery. You got to get rid of that. But let's look at the language. Let's see when they say Moors, see yourself. Because it's you they're talking about. They ain't talking about white people. They're not talking about Chinese people. They're not talking about no one else other than the people that check off the word black on applications. The ones that love James Brown, the hip hoppers, the R&B lovers. That's the Moors. What did they say? All of the Moors, great and small, men and women, all y'all. who, who, who are the Moors? See, they're trying to tell you, oh, it's Berbers and it's mixed Berbers and it's like white people looking type of Berbers. No. Moors are Negroes. That's in the etymology dictionary. All of the Moors, great and small, men and women from Granada and its lands, as well as from Alpujarras and all its places, who shall want to go to live in the Berber lands or any other place. See, Berber, you're talking about Moors. Gone to the Berber land. is what they, or any other place they wish, may sell their estates, furniture, and goods in any way they wish, and to whoever they wish. And neither their highness, see, but who is that? Isabella and Ferdinand, right? That's their highness. That's our highness. Because our real highness, which is Muhammad the 12, gave it up. Nor their successors shall ever take away or permit to take away these things from those who purchased them. Their highness, right, shall give free and safe passage to those Moors who may wish to go to the Berber lands or other places along with their families, movable goods, merchandise, jewels. Look at that. Gold, silver, and all types of weapons, except for artillery. Look at all these. This is where we come from. You see it being laid out in the treaty. You see people talk about it. What's that new thing they're talking about? That little statue, the Moor with the jewels. Um, that just that he basically was like no shirt on or anything, just jewels all over. I forgot what they call that little right emeralds and all that. That's Mr. T with all the jewels, Slick Rick with all the jewels. That's just Moorish. That's a custom. We always had gold and stuff, right? So movable goods, merchandise, jewels, gold, silver, and all types of weapons, right? And for those who may wish to go, they shall provide 10 large ships that will take them where they want to go for 70 days, leaving them free and safe in the ports of the Berber lands where Christian merchant ships are accustomed to going to trade. I think this is the story you're talking about, good brother, regarding the April's Fool's joke, because they provided those ships and then sailed them off and then shot them down. like, yeah, right, you ain't going nowhere. If I'm incorrect, or if anyone knows that, then you're welcome to partake in the conversation. Moreover, all those who shall wish to go within 3 years may do so, and their highness shall send ships wherever they ask to go, giving them safe passage as long as they are requested 50 days in advance. You see, and they're facilitating their removal, our removal. Once these 3 years are up, they may still go to the. Did I already read that? They may still go to the Berber lands whenever they wish, and they shall be allowed to do so upon payment of 1 ducado per person, plus the cost of the passage and the ships in which they travel. Neither their highness nor their son, the Prince Don Juan. So Don Juan is the prince of the highness, right? Nor those who succeed them shall ever order the Moors, who are their vassals, to wear signs on their clothing as the Jews wear. I mean, this is a treaty. This is an international agreement. So when you talk about an international agreement, you're talking about law, you're talking about a contract, you're talking about black and white. Either it is or it's not. There's no vague talk here. This is direct language. This is what they say in the streets, real talk. This is real talk. Neither King Abdullahi nor the other Moors of the city of Granada or of the Albaycin and its surrounding areas shall pay the taxes, right, that are levied on houses and possessions for the next 3 years, and they shall only pay the harvest tax of 1/10 in August and autumn, and the 1/10 on cattle they had, on the Christians, or as the Christians are accustomed to paying. So the so they that's what the Christians that's what we had the Christians paying. So let's read it again. Neither King Abdullahi nor the other Moors of the city of Granada or of the Albaycin and its surrounding areas shall pay the taxes that are levied on houses and possessions for the next 3 years. So they now are levying taxes against them, but not for 3 years. So it's a 3 year delay. And they shall only pay the harvest tax of 1/10 in August and autumn, and the 1/10 on cattle they had, as the Christians are accustomed to paying. See that the Islam had rule over Christianity in that region of the world from 711 up till this point. That's why they're accustomed to paying it. But then they flipped it on the Moors. Now the Moors got to pay. This is clear language. Somebody else want to continue to read from this point forward for me? Rashid, you
Islam.
there?
Islam. Yes, sir.
Hello.
All right. At the time of the surrender of the city and its areas, the Moors are obliged to turn over to their highnesses all of the Christian captives, male and female, so that they may be freed without any kind of ransom being asked or given. Their highnesses shall order that at no time shall either beasts of burden or servants be taken from King Abdullahi, the military governors, judges, and others for any reason without their approval and without their being compensated fairly. They shall not allow any Christians to enter in the mosque of the moon where they pray without the consent of their officials, and anyone who enters otherwise shall be punished for it. Their highnesses shall not permit Jews to have any power or authority over Moors, nor shall they be allowed to collect any kind of rent from them.
Pause. 1 second. Read that again.
No,
For real.
no.
Their highnesses shall not permit Jews to have any power or authority over Moors, nor shall they be allowed to collect any kind of rent from them.
Okay, now, first of all, the, their highnesses still were talking about either King Ferdinand or Isabella or both, because they had merged their houses. One is the Castile and one is the Aragon, right? So then they came together. Actually, that's what created Spain. So let's get that straight first and foremost. So now they telling us who can't do something to us when just recently, previous to all these shenanigans, it was already like that. Because we already had it like that. But keep in mind too, the Jews are who? This is 1492. Who are the Jews?
Israelis. The
Huh?
Israelis.
The Spaniards.
The Jews are the Israelis.
Okay,
No,
I think I'm asking it wrong. Okay. What did they look like in 1492 versus what
Moors.
they look like now?
Moors. They were dark skinned,
Okay,
melanated
okay, okay,
peoples.
okay, okay. So that's some interesting stuff right here that needs further study and examination. That the Jews have no pup, right? But because the Moors now, let's keep it real now. The Jews and the Moors Moors is not necessarily religious. That's government. Jews is religious. So how can a religious figure charge taxes to a government official? It happens the other way around. I'm just making sense out of it. But all I know is that both of those people, Moors and Jews, are the same people. Now, the Moors may have practiced Islam as Muslims, and the Jews may do Judaism or whatever. But this is why I tell them this is why I tell people. Okay, fair enough. You got Judaism, you got Islam, you got Christianity, you got blah, blah, blah. What did we have in 10,000 BC when we built the step pyramid? Hmm? Can we go back to that, please? Because we predate religion as a whole for centuries, for the millennia. We're talking about AD when religion coming in the picture. 325 Council of Nicaea. But if you want to be in alignment with St. Kofa, to reach back and pull forward what was once known and understood, how far do you go back? Do you go back to 325 AD? Or do you go back to 10,000 BC? I would say the latter. You see, so, but they're saying that the Jews don't have any authority over the Moors. But of course not. No one has authority over the Moors, but the Moors themselves. Moroccan law is the supreme law. See, that's why it's on the flag. Moroccan law and international law, because international law finds its root in what? Moroccan law. That's the supreme law of planet Earth. Because it's based in what? Peace and security in Morocco. When you see, so the charter, the United Nations, they would say peace and security on planet Earth. But the language they're getting it from is peace and security in Morocco. You see what I'm saying? It's a remix, the Diddy remix. Go ahead, brother. You may continue.
Um,
Point of interest.
King.
Before we continue, could I get a point of interest real quick? So,
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. So basically, at the same portion where they're saying that the Jews, which is religious, should have not have power over the government, it's literally the same thing that the Christians are doing while they enacting this. That this is the religion that's trying to have authority over the Moors, the government.
Well, it's still based on the government though, the Christians, because you're talking about uh kingdoms. See, it's King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. These are heads of states, but it's a Christian government, right? It's not a secular government. It's based in Christianity. Castile and Aragon. Those are the two houses. I don't remember which one is Isabella from or Ferdinand, but one or the other. Right. So, but in the Moors, the Emirate of Granada, or the Granada Emirate, or I think that's what it was called, the kingdom, was based on Islamic code, on the Islamic code. So theirs is the Christian code, ours was the Islamic code. But yet you have to question, well, who are the Holy Roman Christians, Holy Roman Emperor and Empire and all that? Oh, see, that's still Moors. Like the Christians were still the Moors.
On the privilege.
Go ahead, bro. Go
Now
ahead.
we can see. Now we can see in this document here that who was actually the chosen people. Not the people who claim to be the chosen people. We are the chosen people.
Period.
Planet Earth. Are you?
All those religions are ours, they're brothers and sisters. But we still predate them, which means it's us who authored which means it's us who authored them. See, we are that's really for their salvation. It's also can be viewed as for our future salvation because nonetheless it still talks about us. It talks about us from the perspective of raising out of colonialism or oppression or subjugation. The meek shall inherit the earth. So we have been in a meek condition for a very long time. Now it's time to inherit the earth. Let's continue and finish the reading. Go ahead, good
Uh,
brother.
uh, King Abdullahi and his military chiefs, judges, jurists, religious advisors, governors, learned men, commanders, and squires, and all the common people of the city of Granada and of the Albasan and its surrounding areas, and of the Alpujarras region and other places shall be re-
I don't
res
know, bro. Res clad is what I would say.
yeah,
Keep
res
going.
clad,
Mhm.
res clad, and treated well by their highnesses and their ministers, and their views shall be heard, and their customs and rights guaranteed, and all the officials shall be allowed to charge their rents and enjoy the privileges and liberties to which they are accustomed. And it is just that these things be maintained.
See, that's a custom and it shall be maintained. These are customs and usages that we charge rent. Right? Right? And we have
Right.
privileges and that's custom. That's what we do. That's what we do. We've been
Wow.
so now we're the ones doing the paying of the rent. Okay, well we it's time to flip the script, right? It's what's that movie called? Trading Places. They traded places with us. But we're the landlords. We've always been charging
Right.
rent. Up to this point, this is 1492. We went in 711. So from 711 to 1492, 700 years we've been charging rent. It became a thing. It just is what it is. That's what we did to the foreign British subjects over here in Morocco who came over here. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. Right. The British subjects, the foreigners came over here. We started, you know, charging them taxes on sight, slaving them, and taking their ships on the Atlantic Ocean, the pirates. These are Moors. So George Washington tells Sidi Muhammad that he regrets the hostility of the regencies that we did nothing to, but they're not to be removed in his letter. Yeah, who are those regencies with all the with all that hostility? That's the Moors. We weren't always nice, so we kind of got to look at it like that too. Like what they doing to us, we did to them, and we probably did it 10 times worse. We were pretty brutal, and see, Berber means barbaric. It comes from being barbaric. The judges and the prosecutors, I think it was, in the Dred Scott case was speaking on that, scared that the Moors would go back to that barbaric mindset. So it's like we can't tell Dred Scott that he's a Moor. No, in fact, let's just you know uh, naturalize all of them and bring them under our jurisdiction as Americans, so we can bring the court of law against them. Because at this point, as subjects of Morocco, they couldn't bring any cases against us because they had what? No jurisdiction. They had to create the jurisdiction by naturalizing us. The power of the pen. So now the new move now is to choose the entire submission, renunciate that citizenship, that naturalization, and repatriate back to Morocco by the same means that they did it with, which is what? The power of the pen. Hmm. It's really that simple, Morris. Let's get to work. All right, continue, brother.
Sure. Their highnesses shall order that they shall not be forced to take in boarders, nor shall any clothing, birds, animals, or supplies of any kind be taken from the Moors without their consent. Legal disputes that arise among Moors shall be judged by this Islamic law and by their judges and jurists, as is their custom. And if a dispute shall arise between a Christian and a Moor, judgment shall be made by one Christian and one Moorish official, so that neither party can complain about the sentence.
I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, that's clear cut. So what the Moors had? We had judges, right? We had customs with judges and jurists as that was our custom to have jurists and judges and law,
The whole complete structure.
the whole complete structure. The Game of Thrones is the game of the Moors. Never mind the whitewashing of the show. That's you. Gang banging for kingdoms, the same way we gang bang for blocks. It's nothing new. We've been doing this. Higher self, lower self. From a higher degree, we was gang banging over kingdoms. So it caused the fall. And we fell still gang
Yeah.
banging over stuff. All the way down to now it's about the block and colors and stuff like that. It's nothing new. That's part of why we fell. But what else do we see? Moorish official. Let's read it. Legal disputes that arise among Moors shall be so between us, right? So you see, this is similar to what? The Treaty of Peace and Friendship.
Yep.
Legal disputes that arise amongst Moors shall be judged by consular court. I mean, not consular court, the Supreme Court, our internal court. Consular court is when there's a Christian and a Moor. Now, to keep things fair over here, they're saying one Christian, one Moorish official. Okay, fair enough. That's fair. But what's really being highlighted here? Look at the terminology. Not black officials, not Indian
Moorish.
officials, right? Not Hebrew Israelite officials, not Jewish officials. You see, not Jewish
Right.
officials, Moorish officials. Look at the language. Look at what it keeps referring to. Judges. How many times did it say judges and jurists and governors? Along with the word Moors, by the way. I mean, what do you rather just connect yourself with black slave, black slavery, whips, chains, massa, jigaboo? You'd rather associate yourself with that?
No,
I
no
mean,
way.
okay, I'm just saying,
No
brother.
way.
Because when you tell the Moors, when you tell many black people, they say, "Well, no, those are the ones who sold us out." No, it's the same people. It's us. You are the Moor. I'm the Moor. It's the same Moor. We're Moors. Like, what do you mean they? When Latino, as an example, that speak Spanish, don't even speak English at all. When they want to be derogatory, they'll say negro. Look at the negros. If they want to be politically correct, they'll say moreno. Moreno is more. So that's literally it. If they want to be politically correct, they'll say moreno. If they want to be disrespectful, they'll say negro, especially with an attitude,
Mhm.
negro. But
Yeah.
with respect, they'll say moreno. But they don't make the
Moreno.
distinction of any historical whatever of who did what to who, and it's the Moors who did it, and they see us all as just Moors. We're the ones who caused that division amongst ourselves. Oh, they're the ones who did it, and bro, it's the same you. What do you mean they? You got to get past this, man, because everyone else they don't look at the of any discord amongst you. It's just all y'all are the same thing. I don't know. I ain't got nothing to do with y'all discord amongst yourselves. You're just Moors. Continue, bro.
All right. And the Moors shall not give or pay to their highnesses more tribute than that they are accustomed to paying to the Moorish kings.
You see, so they flipped it too up. They flipped it, right? So you're gonna pay us, but not more than we ain't gonna do you more than you did. You see, the Moors shall not give or pay to their highness more tribute than that they are accustomed to paying to the Moorish kings. Come on, man. We used to
Mm.
get
I
tribute
think we
paid for
missed
that.
a small part of the last paragraph.
No, we didn't. But yeah, you talking about okay? Um, Judgment shall be made by one Christian and one Moorish official, so that neither party can complain about the sentence. I think you did read that, right?
Yeah, I did.
That's what makes it fair, right? Okay, fair enough. You know what I mean? But look at this: the Moors shall not give or pay to their highness more tribute than they are accustomed to paying to the Moorish kings. Kings, plural, kings, plural. 1711 all the way to 1492. That's a lot of kings.
Real talk. There's multiple.
that's that's a lot of kings. There. All right, continue, bro.
It shall not be allowed for any person to mistreat by deed or by word any Christian man or woman who, previous to this treaty, has converted to Islam. And if any more has a wife who is a renegade, a Christian who converted to Islam, that person shall not be forced to become Christian against her will. And she shall be interviewed in the presence of Christians and Moors, and her will shall be followed. And the same will be done with the boys and girls born to a Christian woman and a Moorish man.
There's a lot of respect. I mean, you're dealing with 700 years of building that respect and honor. But still, boy, Abdul, some of this language, you could have negotiated that a little better, sir, or just died for the kingdom. Like, but there you still see a sense of respect and honor contained within the language of this treaty. Continue, brother.
No more shall be forced to become Christian against his will. And if woman and if a woman is in love, either married or a widow, should wish to become a Christian, she shall not be allowed to convert until she is interviewed. Neither their highnesses nor their successors shall ever ask King Abdullahi or those from Granada and its lands, nor the others who enter into this agreement, to give back horses, property, cattle, gold, silver, jewels, nor any other thing that was won in any way during the war and rebellion, either from Christians or from Moors who are or are not muhadis, Muslims who lived under Christian rule. That's deep. If any more has injured or killed a Christian man or woman who was his captive, he will not be held accountable for it.
Say it again.
Once, if any more has injured or killed a Christian man or woman who was his captive, he will not be held accountable for it.
Okay. So that means we have people held captive, and we're still allowed to hold people captive. Even continue, brother. I mean, I hope y'all listening now. I mean, I didn't write this.
And for the interesting, I think the previous paragraph is what the Lord really needed
We
to pay
can't. We
attention
can't.
to.
You gotta repeat yourself, but I can hear you clearly. You sound muffled.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you.
Sir,
I think the previous paragraph is what we really need to understand on how they respected the king, i.e., the sultan, the respect factor. And I think that's what we fell out of over the last 500 or 600 years is respecting the sovereign authority of the land. But you can see from that paragraph there, the respect was there for that particular king. I yield.
Oh, may I continue, brother.
once the 3 years are up, the Moor shall not pay any greater amount in rent for estates and lands than it shall appear fair for them to pay in light of their value and quality. The judges, officials, and governors, their highnesses shall appoint in the city of Granada and its surrounding areas shall be persons who will honor the Moors and treat them affectionately and shall observe this treaty. If anyone should do anything improper, their highnesses shall order them to be replaced and punished.
Right? You see the respect for the Moors?
Uh,
Nonetheless,
It was ordered.
Right? They shall be treated affectionately. What you think is gonna happen once we complete this decolonization process? We will be treated affectionately.
It
That's
was wrong.
that's just how it is. Now, it's incumbent upon us to maintain a certain level of humility and nobility.
Right.
That's a necessary component to all of this. Nobility and humility. But they're gonna be bowing, even if it's at the very least mentally. They may not physically do it, but people will be doing it mentally because they do it already. Now imagine when we come back into our proper person with our chest up, held, you're holding your head up high, full of sense of confidence and dignity and patriotism. Come on now. And that time is coming. Continue, brother.
Their highnesses and their successors shall not ask or inquire of King Abdullahi or any other person covered by this agreement about anything they have done, no matter what it is, previous to the day of the surrender of this city and its fortresses. No military, no military governor, squire, or servant of King El Zagal shall have any position or authority at any time over the kings of Granada. The
No,
Moors shall not.
hold on. We ain't gonna just scroll past, just gloss over that L there because it's in a bracket. That must mean something. No military governor, squire, or servant of King L. Is there a King L? No, it's King Zagal. Why do they have that L there? And you know what I mean? And in
In the
brackets.
bracket. Yeah.
Mm, it's something to consider. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. Continue, bro.
Is it because it's a title of nobility?
Well, no, the title of nobility is king already. That's the title of nobility. Um, yeah, that's a misconcept that Al, Bay, Day, Al, and Ali. Those aren't titles of nobility. Title of nobility is king, duke, um, etc. And that belongs to the Moors. Don't get it twisted. I'm not sure why that L is there in brackets though, unless it's part of his name. Okay, continue,
All
bro.
right. The Moors shall not be compelled or forced into any kind of military service against their will. And if their highnesses shall wish to recruit any horsemen, summoning them to any place in Andalusia, they shall order them to be paid from the day they leave until they return to their homes. Their highnesses shall order the maintenance of the existing irrigation channels, ditches, and fountains that go into Granada, and they shall neither alter them nor take any part of them. And should anyone do so, or should anyone throw any dirty thing into them, they shall be punished for it. Any contractual and written debts that exist among the Moors must be paid.
There's a lot of punishment coming upon people who violate the
Right.
Moors. Okay, contractual and written debts that exist among the Moors must be paid. Continue.
Christian slaughterhouses shall be kept separate from those of the Moors, and the supplies from one shall not be mixed together with those of the other. The Jews, who are natives of Granada and the Albaycin and its surrounding areas, and all the other places covered by this agreement, shall benefit from its contents, provided that those who do not convert to Christianity must leave for their Berber lands within 3 years, starting from December 8th of this year. Their highnesses shall order that all that is contained in this treaty be observed starting from the day when the fortresses of the city of Granada are surrendered.
And that's the end of it. That's the end of it. For the Jews who are natives of Granada, what is that telling you? They're dark skinned people too. They're not identifying them as Moors though. They're identifying them as Jews.
Jews, right? So they was
Right?
like they like a faction.
Um, um, Yes, I think that they were viewing things more so from a religious context. Because you had the Christians, you had the Jews, and you had the Muslims, i.e., the Moors. But don't get it twisted. Moors doesn't mean Muslim. That's where a lot of black people get that misconcept from. But that's the Treaty of Granada. We see who and what we were, and the type of honor that we carried throughout the ages. All right, now let's take a look at this is an abstract from the Treaty of Granada. It's the Treaty of Granada, 1491 AD, 897 AH. Someone got to mute themselves. And the question of legal deception, a historical legal analysis. So this is the historical legal analysis, but it's in Arabic. But the abstract is in English. So let's read the abstract real quick. Someone got to mute themselves. I think it's Cicero. That's you, brother.
It is. Oh, sorry.
Yep, it certainly is. All right, brother, go ahead and read this abstract because it gives you some further insight into what we just read.
Islam. The surrender of Granada to the Spanish Catholic monarchs, Ferdinand and Isabella, was not an event that will go unrecorded in the annals of history. The fall of Granada and the defeat of its leader, Abu Abdullah al-Sagir, Boabdil, did not mark the end of Boabdil.
Yep, continue.
Did not mark the end of efforts to defend the last stronghold of Islam in Al-Andalus. This study examines the attempts by Granada's last king, Abu Abdullah al-Sagir, to secure written guarantees from the Catholic monarchs to ensure the survival of Muslims in Spain, allowing them to retain their property, lives, and religion without persecution or harassment.
Is that not what we read?
Yes, sir.
We absolutely did negotiate those terms. Give them credit for that.
This episode represents
So
the
who did
final.
it? Him and who else? Hold on 1 second. So who did it? Let's talk government. There's a misconception out there about governmental positions. So this treaty, there's a treaty here. It's called the Treaty of Granada. In order for it to come into existence, what had to happen? It's the N word.
Negotiations.
Negotiations. Now, who were the parties involved with this negotiation?
Moors and Christians.
Yeah. Well, I'm not talking nationality or identity. I'm speaking uh, governmental officials. I'm talking governmental positions. What positions were in charge of negotiating said treaty within the governmental structure?
Exactly.
Well, yes, that's a branch, though. And it is within the executive branch, but what position specifically?
The judges?
The king.
No, never the judges. No, who said that? Scratch that from your mentals for the rest of your life. Especially since the judges are not in the executive branch.
Right. It's the
Prime ministers.
No. No, because why not the prime? Well, the prime minister, you said prime ministers. And I'm thinking that back in the days, while you're out of praise, was considered the prime ministers. Now is just wazir and it's the governors. So yes, we have the prime minister. So that's one. So if you're talking about the prime minister of the empire, because see, we're talking empire level, then yes, that's one. Who's the other? There's four.
governors and
Yeah, you said it. The governors.
Not governors. Never the governors.
commander.
The governors have no business dealing with international foreign
Minister
affairs.
of Foreign Affairs.
Minister,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's not that hard.
Yeah,
The
you
Minister
right,
of
you
Foreign.
right.
It's in the name. It's in the name. Minister of Foreign Affairs. Who else?
Attorney generals.
Counsel General. Yep.
Counsel general.
Well, the attorney generals to a degree based on legal matters. consul generals, they report, not the consul general, not at all, because we're talking about the negotiation of a treaty. You're forgetting one main factor, one main
Okay, okay.
position.
Is there a
Y'all killing me.
council?
What's the main position within the executive branch?
The head of state.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Right. So it's the head of state,
the
the
king.
because as you see here, it's the king who is the head of state, but then also it could be his ambassador that he appoints, right? Envoy extraordinary, right? Charge d'affaires, plenipotentiaries. But who is in charge of the foreign policy aside from the head of state? The Minister of Foreign Affairs or the Foreign Minister. Some countries call them the Foreign Minister. So in this case, you have uh, a treaty being negotiated between, at least based on the reading, the king or Abdul, king and king. So who are the parties? So the party. Okay, somebody give me the four elements of a contract. Thank you, Jay.
Superiority
Somebody.
and inferiority.
No, no. Say it again.
Terms and
What's the first?
conditions.
Terms.
No,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. Give it to
Party,
me in order.
the parties must be known.
Okay. What's next?
The inferior party and the superior and inferior party.
What's next?
Terms and conditions.
Okay.
Enforcement.
Exactly. How to enforce the contract. So the parties must be known. Who are the parties here? Okay, on the Moorish side is Boabdil, the king. On the Christian side is Isabella and Ferdinand. Okay, so now this is the real question. Who is superior and who is inferior? In this treaty, in this contract, in this agreement, who is inferior and who's superior?
Spaniard, Queen
That's
Isabella and Ferdinand, because they punked the Moors in this
Well,
treaty.
you said the
so you're
Moorish
saying
king,
wait. That's just okay. Who's superior?
the Moorish king.
Somebody else give me an answer.
I say it was King Ferdinand and Isabella because in this particular treaty
Absolutely.
they punked the Moors.
Yeah, they control the yeah the language.
The
They
terms and
pump the more.
conditions.
The terms they control, they establish the terms and conditions. So the Christian nation, right, was the superior, and the Moorish nation was inferior. See?
Islam point of interest.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be considered sort of a unilateral agreement? Or so?
Unilateral. Yeah, unilateral versus bilateral. Yeah,
I
it's a
didn't know.
unilateral um, agreement exactly because it's between two states.
Islam. Gratitude.
Mm-hmm. All right, continue, brother. This is a quick second to show international diplomacy. This is part of our learning development. Go ahead, brother.
All right.
To secure written guarantees from the Catholic monarchs.
Oh man, my page.
I don't see that.
I don't. Yeah, I think. Can you scroll up, Sultan?
Right here.
Oh, all right. There we go. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
To secure written guarantees from the Catholic monarchs to ensure the survival of Muslims in Spain, allowing them to retain their property, lives, and religion without persecution or harassment. This episode represents the final chapter in the resistance against the sweeping Christian offensive that overran Islamic cities in Spain one after another, culminating in the subjugation of the last bastion, Granada. Consequently, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella signed the famous Treaty of Granada with King Abu Abdullah al-Sagir on 12 Muharram 897. 897 AH, November 25th, 1491 AD. Additionally, the study addresses the fate of King Abdullah al-Sagir, who left the dynasty of Muslims in the hands of the Catholic armies. Damn. Supported by the Pope, Muslims were forced to sell their properties at a paltry price and were expelled to Morocco.
Oh, pause right there. Where were they expelled to?
Morocco.
Is that the Kingdom of Morocco?
Nope.
How
That
do
wasn't
we
even thought of.
know? How do we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's not talking about the Kingdom of Morocco?
Because that wasn't even thought of at the time.
1492.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't thought of until
Didn't exist until 1956.
There you go. So you know they ain't talking about no Kingdom of Morocco. This is how ancient this empire is, Morris. It extended all the way into Spain. That's why Spain is part of the signatory powers. You see? Continue, brother.
As for the remaining Muslims in Granada, they lived under the weight of cruelty and oppression by the Spanish under Ferdinand and Isabella. In 1501, the monarchs issued a royal decree mandating the forced conversion of Muslims to Christianity, alongside campaigns to eliminate the remnants of Islam in Spain by killing Muslims and their scholars and burning their books.
We know about that. So then now everything you see, killing the scholars and burning their books. You think that practice ended right there in Spain, or that Christopher Columbus and the Pilgrims and whatever, all those the Christian powers came over into the West, the land of milk and honey,
So we
Tartaria.
dealing, so we dealing with their descendants.
Yeah, and don't get it twisted. Wherein the Moors are involved in it. This is EBSCO, knowledge advantage. All right, did a study on the fall of Granada. Let's go through that. Read. Go ahead, brother.
Fall of Granada. The fall of Granada marks the conclusion of the Reconquista, the centuries-long effort by Christian forces in Spain to reclaim territory occupied by Muslim Moors. By the early 13th century, Granada remained the last stronghold of Moorish rule in the Iberian Peninsula, enduring
Okay,
despite
okay. So I mean, I'm just showing you who who we talking about. The parties must be known.
right,
Moorish rule. I got to remind y'all that we once ruled as Moors, though. And don't get it twisted. Don't get me wrong. This is basically modern times, 1400s. It wasn't always Moorish. It was the modern name of the Moabites, Moroccan.
yep,
But we've had many other identities. But what was the ruling identity? I'm just saying, it's always been the Moorish identity. It's always been the Moors. You may have you may have had melanated people that may not identify as Moors. Like example, the Jews. They're being referred to as Jews, as if they're making a distinction from two people that aren't the same. That's interesting. These are Jewish Moors, if you want. But how do you? But it's propaganda. It's part of the propaganda, is what I would say. Get you to see it as the what the Bible. I didn't say it, but the Bible referred to as the synagogue of Satan. I didn't say that.
right,
It's quoting
the
the Bible.
so-called Jews.
Right. Those are the same people. But we're looking at Moorish rule that carries over into this land. Don't disassociate it. Don't make it this. Don't separate it. There is no distinction.
Take the good and the bad.
I take the good and the bad, but there's no
Yeah,
distinction. And the expansion was vast. Like who y'all think you are? Moors? You think you're a lesser people? I thought we knew that we were greater people. So if we know that we're the greater people, then why is it beyond the realms of possibility that we had a vast empire? It's like that's not difficult to calculate, recognize, see, be proud of. It's a hell of an accomplishment
right,
that took centuries, millennia, because it's based in conquest. Don't get it twisted. But in modern international law, the Act of Algeciras is 1906. That's modern. It's been recognized that the Moors, the Moroccan authorities are those who get to do what? What did we just talk about? Charge rent, taxes, additional revenues. All right, brother, continue. I'm sorry. I just we can go on and on. Go ahead.
And during, despite prolonged military campaigns from the north, let me start this sentence though. By the early 13th century, Granada remained the last stronghold of Moorish rule in the Iberian Peninsula. Enduring despite prolonged military campaigns from the north, the Catholic monarchs Ferdinand II of Aragon and Isabella I of Castile initiated a decisive campaign against Granada in 1482, employing a well-organized military strategy that included a powerful army and advanced artillery. The siege of Granada began in April 1491 and culminated on January 1st, 1492, when the last emir, Boabdil, surrendered the city, symbolizing the end of Muslim rule in Spain after nearly 800 years.
Mm-hmm. After nearly 800 years. Read
Say
that
Happy
footnote.
New Year.
What was that?
That look like Happy New Year's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Read that footnote.
This event is viewed differently within various cultural contexts. For Christians, it represented a significant triumph and a reassertion of Catholic dominance, while for many Muslims it was seen as a tragic loss and a pivotal moment of cultural and political decline. The fall of Granada led to the Catholic monarchs gaining recognition across Europe and marked a transformative period in Spanish history, paving the way for the consolidation of a unified Spanish state under a single faith.
Mm-hmm. You see? While for many Muslims it was seen as a tragic loss and a pivotal moment of cultural and political decline. This is where it started.
Point of interest. It seems as if they just switch out the name Muslim for Moor.
That's exactly what they
That's what
do.
I was going to
Great,
say. Yeah.
great observation.
Yeah.
Right. And point of
So when
interest
Obama
too.
said, so when
Oh,
Obama
say,
said it was, so
oh,
when Obama said it's the
Muslim
Muslims who
man.
lit the.
Yeah.
So when Obama, hold on, when Obama said it's the Muslims, remember that speech? He's doing the same
2010,
thing.
in Cairo, Egypt. Cairo, Egypt.
yeah, yeah.
He's doing the same thing. Muslims means Moors, but it don't mean that you're a Muslim though, because you can be a Muslim, a Moor who's a Jew. As an example.
Point of interest.
Yeah.
And that alludes further to the point um, about how religion not being separate from state became a problem because the people who knew that Muslim was just strongly synonymous with Moor, just because there was a lot of Moors that were Muslim, and like to the Sultan said, Moors can be any
Right.
religion, but the people who took advantage of that narrative were the Arabs. Because okay, so who else but the Arabs are seen as the face of Islam? It's the Arabs. So it's the Arabs with the narrative, the power of the empire of Morocco throughout time. They said, hey, look, this religion, we're going to make it seem like this is the state way, right? Even though all governments, that's how ancient times was ran, but as far as the religion itself, and I'm not saying Islam is bad or anything like that. You're free to practice your own religion. But in accordance to the history, it was the Arabs who utilized Islam as the way to tie themselves to us by way of treaty to say, look, we know what more means. Everybody kind of knows what more means. So this Muslim thing, we'll just make it synonymous. That's what we'll do. We'll make it synonymous. So just keep in mind of that point right there as well, because that religion aspect is very important to harmonize. And with that, I
God. And I apologize. Today is Holy Day. Happy Holy Day, Moors. Okay, good
Happy
brother.
Holy Day.
Continue right there where Fall of Granada, and let's read through that real quick, swiftly.
Point of entry. Happy holiday, Moors. Islam.
Islam.
Islam. Happy holiday, y'all. The fall of Granada marked the military conquest of Muslim Spain by the Christian forces of Spanish King Ferdinand II and Queen Isabella I, who retook Granada after nearly 800 years of settlement by the Moors. I heard they was cousins.
Yeah, I heard that as well. 800 years of settlement by the Moors. You're not proud of that history? Or you just want to focus on, oh, they sold out. Yeah, well, not all of them. Just like right now, not all black people are sent out.
Right.
There's a certain element. You just got to know who it is and get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's called treason, and treason is punishable by what?
Death.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't know. I didn't make that up. Who are the key figures here, brother?
Ferdinand II and Queen Isabella I.
No. Start off at the top.
Oh, the key figures. Oh, Abu al-Hassan Ali, Emir of Granada from 1464 to 1485. Ferdinand II from 1452 to 1516, King of Aragon from 1479 through 1516. Isabella I, 1451 through 1504, Queen of Castile, 1474 through 1504. Boabdil from 1464 through 1527 and 1538, son of Abu al-Hassan Ali and Emir of Granada from 1482 to 1492.
Okay, so it started with the dad and it ended with the son. Imagine that. Continue.
All right. Summary of event. Since the early 8th century, the Christians of northern Spain had attempted to repel North African Moorish invaders and settlers from Iberian soil. By the early 13th century, their military efforts had been crowned with general success, but one area of Andalusia, Granada, held out. For more than 2 centuries, the fertile and fair kingdom of Granada, some 200 miles long and 70 miles wide, remained a bastion of Moorish occupation. The Muhajars, Muslims, were skilled artisans and workers, but could not hope to enter into the more prestigious professions in Christian Spain. Since 1469, when the joint rule of Ferdinand II and Isabella I commenced, a concept of Castilian caste was evolved that discriminated against the Moors as well as the Jews. Yet, the joint rulers of Aragon and Castile generally interacted cordially with the Muslim Emirate. Sporadic incidents notwithstanding, Christian and Muslim kingdoms enjoyed a sort of workable convivencia, coexistence. Once Christian Spain had adopted the Jewish belief of the identity of the state in a single religion, the traditional coexistence was no longer possible. Although it would take a decade of their life to accomplish it, King Ferdinand of Aragon and Queen Isabella of Castile married since 1469, and joint rulers of Aragon and Castile determined upon the final reconquista, the reconquest of Granada. So it's like
there was something that they said here, right? So the traditional coexistence. So what does that sound like? Does that sound familiar? Coexistence.
Yeah, sound like
it
our
was a treaty.
relationship.
Sound like a
Yeah.
treaty. It was a treaty that was broken.
Yeah, but no. That's not what it. No, that's not what it
Mm-hmm.
sounds. It sounds like a treaty, but it isn't broken. The Treaty of Peace and Friendship was supposed to cohabitate and coexist with the foreign Europeans here on this land.
Right.
That's the same concept, the same similar concept, with us being the superior authority. They don't have nowhere. All the lands belong to the Moors. We're constantly in a perpetual status of coexisting to at least adhere to human rights. right? We always must maintain the rulership. That's why I vow as Sultan I'll never enter into any or bring the empire into any subordinate type of contract. Not happening, Captain.
Shay, Islam,
Or conspiracies from
Islam.
internal officials. Not having none of that. I was the wrong one to make Sultan, or maybe the right one. I guess it depends on your position. Continue, brother.
Mm. So it sounds like what we read so far. It sounds like they got in good and got adopted some of the ways and used them to turn on everybody regular.
Well, remember that whole time period from 711 all the way up to 1492 was it's more like betrayal. Now we didn't exist in the time, and we don't know the backstory per se. I'm sure there's more to it, but at the end of the day, it was the Moors who uplifted that whole region. Right? They were uncivilized.
Out of the
He
dark
put
ages.
all the he put all the libraries in there in that zone in that territory in Europe. All the public baths, the universities, the public libraries, the hundreds of thousands of books, etc. The paved streets, lights, etc. Right. So actually, you owe us. You that sounds like you should be you owing us a debt because until we arrived, y'all was laying with the beast, with your own beast, your own.
Bestiality.
Well, so that there was a debt owed, but instead they decided to rebel against the Moors. Um, and that's basically what we see. So they're saying that Reconquista or Reconquest, um, not really, because you're not indigenous or ancient or native to that land, so it's not like you're reconquering anything. It don't even belong to you to retake, right? The only thing that we can talk about in that sense is their sovereign authority. Um, so there's a lot to look into and discuss and examine regarding the events that led up to the treaty and then the subsequent expulsion in 1492, January 1st and January 2nd, by the way. But in the meantime, we're just examining the surface or a little bit below the surface so that we can see where we once fit in history and where we're at today and how it relates to the whole Thanksgiving celebration. So continue, brother.
All right. Slow but relentless Christian advance menaced Malaga, and in 1481, Christian troops on the outskirts of Loja seemed to knock at the gates of Granada. Panicked easily, Granada's emir Abu al-Hassan Ali rashly struck against the castle of Zahara near Ronda. Although the so-called Catholic monarchs were not adequately prepared militarily at this time and had limited financial resources, they were not likely to put up with the loss of Zahara. Catholic troops launched a furious and persistent counterattack against the fortress, reoccupying it in 1482, thanks to the valor of Rodrigo Ponce de Leon, Marquis of Cadiz. Thereafter, Christian Spain began to make concerted plans for the overthrow of the emirate. The Pope declared a crusade, and Jewish bankers and business people supplied funds.
See, that goes. The Jews always been the bankers and business people, but they weren't always what they look like today. Huh? Now, who's from Atlanta? Because isn't there a Ponce de
Yes,
Leon?
sir.
Oh, okay, I
Yes,
thought so.
sir.
Mm-hmm. Continue, brother. It'd be right in our faces, bro.
Ferdinand and Isabella decided to change their strategy. They aimed to strip the Moorish kingdom down to its core city, Granada, by first removing the key defensive positions of Almeria and Malaga. The monarchs had also built up a powerful army complete with supply lines, cavalry, and infantry, the most impressive artillery yet collected in Western Europe, and a skilled corps of engineers. This corps of sappers, as they were called, was to be of decisive importance in the coming campaigns. On one occasion, they literally leveled an obstructing mountain, a feat that left the chroniclers in scriptural ecstasy. In 1484, equipped with this splendid new army, financed chiefly through Isabella's remarkable persistence and powers of persuasion, Ferdinand began the siege of the important town of Ronda. His artillery battered Ronda's defenses down, so that Christian victory came on May 15, 1485. The news of the victory electrified Christian Spain. Ferdinand took the town of Loya and then moved on to the great city of Malaga. The city put up such fierce resistance that after months of fighting, only the suburbs had been taken. The attack stalled, and the Christian forces were in despair. Ferdinand finally sent for the queen as an omen of good fortune. Isabella's presence outside Malaga worked a miracle in inspiring confidence, and the troops threw themselves into the attack with a renewed zeal and determination. At the end, the city capitulated, and its Moorish population was enslaved. Thus, the
Really?
West. Yeah.
Really? That doesn't sound like the. You see, does that sound like the treaty? That's not true.
Uh-uh.
You see the misinformation? You see why we read? You see why it's always safe to read the treaties.
Right.
Did you all are y'all listening to what I'm saying?
Yeah, that sounds like a hostile takeover.
Yeah, but what I'm referring to is that they're saying that the Moorish population was enslaved. That's not true.
No.
The hostile takeover may be for sure true. Yeah, I'm sure it was because that's how they were able to get the Moors to capitulate to that treaty. But that treaty don't say nothing about enslavement. In fact, it's the exact opposite. I mean, you still get the charge rent, and if no one pays it, you get punished. Did we just not read that? Did we not
Yes,
just read
sir.
that? Oh, okay, okay.
It's
Right.
COINTELPRO at its finest.
Right. That's the ghost writing. This is where the ghost writing comes in. You know.
Mm-hmm. Misinformation,
Hmm?
truth, and falsehood is strangely mixed. So you got that's why the safe bet is always the treaties because it's based in law. It's based in what's it's black and white. It is or it's not. It's not. There is no in between. There is no interpretation. Is what it says. I continue, brother. Thus, the western portion.
Right. Thus, the western portion of Granada had been reduced, and only the eastern part remained to be taken. In May of 1489, Ferdinand opened the eastern front by attacking the mountain city of Baza, a campaign described as the real cavalry of the Spaniards. Nothing went right. The terrain was admirably suited to Moorish guerrilla tactics. The early harsh winter brought despair. Roads were washed away. A pestilence broke out, and the Muslims continued fierce sorties. Again, Isabella decided to join her troops, and her presence was again magical. This sounds like a fiction. Besides inspiring emotion and enthusiasm, she carried out miracles in organizing supplies. She had roads rebuilt, barracks relocated, and the forces replenished with fresh recruits. After a long and courageous defense, the citizens of Baza accepted generous terms from Ferdinand. Malaga's governor, Muhammad al-Zagal, who had made his headquarters at Almeria, realized the futility of further resistance and sued for peace. The way to Granada now lay open. 10 years of planning were about to come to fruition. These niggas lying. In the spring of 1491, the Spaniards encamped outside the walls and towers of Granada. Its Alhambra, the emir's palace, set like a glistening crown on a high hill. The city was crowded with desperate refugees. Its supplies were limited, and its leadership was tottering. Abu al-Hassan Ali had lost part of his power in 1482 when his son Boabdil staged a partially successful coup. The emirship remained uncertain until 1486 when Boabdil became the unquestioned emir, albeit an emir under siege by Ferdinand. Ferdinand expected the emir to surrender Granada to him. When he refused to do so, a long and costly siege of the city was begun. The siege lasted from April of 1491 to January of 1492.
So you see what greed did? So he done came in, performed a coup against his own daddy, right? To take over the emirship, and then turn around and give up the kingdom.
Boabdil, the
Listen,
whole ass.
it seems like Boabdil was an agent, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He was a
J
agent for
Bay.
the crown. I didn't say that. Continue, brother. Damn.
Finally, Boabdil, the last emir of Granada, consented on October 28, 1491, to surrender the city within 60 days. When news of his treachery reached his nobles and generals, his plight became so desperate that on January 1st, 1492, he sent an anguished message to Ferdinand and Isabella offering them the city immediately. The following dawn, the king and queen, followed by their royal choir of Toledo, the archbishop, primate of Spain, and the whole Christian host, among others, marched slowly toward the Moorish city. Boabdil, together with his few remaining retainers, descended from the Alhambra and advanced toward the waiting Christians. With royal dignity
So
seldom
you
displayed during his
see, hold on one second. So you see, right? We surrendered the city within 60 days. We knew it was of his treachery reached his nobles and generals, right? His treachery, his plight became so desperate that on January 1st, 1492, he sent an anguished message to Ferdinand and Isabella offering them the city immediately. That's why his mom told him, "Don't cry for a kingdom that you couldn't." Which he said, "Don't cry for a kingdom like a woman that you couldn't protect as a man." That's a famous quote that they say Boabdil's mother said to him in a famous portrait called "The Moors Weep." We'll look into that in a second. Continue, brother.
right? With royal dignity seldom displaying during his reign, Boabdil handed the keys of the Alhambra to Ferdinand and kissed his sleeve. Ferdinand, in turn, gave the keys to Isabella, who held them for a moment, then passed them on to the Alhambra's new governor, the Count of Tindilla. Boabdil turned slowly away, mounted his horse, and rode off to the mountains. A small detachment of Christians raised the standards over the Alhambra. On the tall Torre de la Villa, the Christian force slowly hoisted the silver cross, which had been kept so long in readiness for the day. Among the hardened Christian soldiers came the cry, "Granada, Granada, Granada," for Don Ferdinand and Donna Isabel. The royal choir broke into Te Deum.
What is where is it at? This they use the word standard. They hoisted the standard. Um, he said that Boabdil handed the keys and kissed the sleeve. I read in other accounts that his mother saved him from that humiliation. So I'm not sure how true this is, but Ferdinand in turn gave the keys to Isabella, who held them for a moment, and then passed them on to the Alhambra's new governor, the Count of Tindilla. Boabdil turned slowly away, mounted his horse, and rode off to the mountains. A small detachment of Christians raised the standards of the Alhambra. What are they saying with that when they say raise the standards?
The flag.
Correct. Mhm. Signifying what? The victory.
Victory. That's
On the
crazy
Torre
work.
de la Vela, the Christian force, so that's a tower, slowly hoisted the silver cross, which had been kept so long in readiness for the day. You see? Let's go on to another read. What happened here? Type the email. What is this? I don't know what happened here. No thanks. Or maybe I need to say no thanks. Okay, there we go. Today in Europe, history, the Treaty of Granada. The final remaining Islamic kingdom on the Iberian Peninsula surrenders to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. This is the scenery. All right. So that's Boabdil and the Black Horse. Look at all the Moors around them. You see them? And look at all these. Not all of them were pale faced because they were the children in the harems. So they were more like your Fat Joes of the world and Jennifer Lopez, the Latinos types, Moriscos.
Mm.
All right. So that's the um close this. All right. You can read right here, brother. The end of the Reconquista.
The end of the Reconquista came on January 2nd, 1492, when the last Muslim ruler of Granada, the Nasrid Sultan Abu Abdullah Muhammad VII, Boabdil, to the
No, the
Spaniards.
12. The 12.
Oh, no, that's 10, 11, 12. My fault. Boabdil, to the Spaniards, for whom Abu Abdullah was too hard to pronounce, went into exile in Morocco.
Oh, he went where? In Morocco.
But by that
Remember?
point,
Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No. Don't worry about it. I've already made that point from the last read. So we're seeing it again. Continue.
Right. But by that point, his departure was a formality. Boabdil was obliged to leave by the Treaty of Granada, which he signed along with the victorious King Ferdinand of Aragon, 1516, and Queen Isabella of Castile, 1504, on November 25th, 1491. The Treaty of Granada ended the Granada War, go figure, which started in 1482 after an incredibly ill-advised Granadan attack on the Castilian city of Zahara, ordered by the reigning Sultan and Boabdil's father, Abu al-Hassan Ali. Granadans took Zahara, but it was a Pyrrhic victory, if ever there was one. Isabella had only just won out in the struggle to succeed her brother, Henry the Fourth, 1474, as ruler of Castile, which meant that the proto-Spanish kingdoms were now united by virtue of her marriage to Ferdinand of Aragon. This was bad news for the Granadans. Not only was the combined Aragonese Castilian army much stronger than the army that of Abu al-Hassan Ali could muster, but the combined kingdom also had the resources to bring in artillery experts to design and craft plenty of siege guns. Also bad news for the Granadans was the fact that Boabdil decided to revolt against his father and declare himself Sultan. Shortly after he began his rebellion, Boabdil was briefly captured by Ferdinand and Isabella, but quickly realizing what they had, they released and even supported the young prince in order to throw the Granadans into civil war. By 1487, Boabdil had won his rebellion and was the ruler of Granada, which probably would have not been possible without the support of the Spanish monarchs. But if he was expecting his former backers to let him rule in peace as their vassal, he was in for a real shock when they started gobbling up his territory instead. He sent for aid from Muslim rulers and Fez in Egypt, but the most he got was a strong-worded cut-to-crap letter from the Egyptian Mameluke Sultan Khat Bey to Ferdinand, which shockingly had no effect. Ferdinand and Isabella's army
Hold
besieged
on a second,
Granada.
brother. Pause real quick. What is a Mamluk? It says here the Egyptian Mamluk Sultan Qut Bey. What is a Mamluk? Somebody want to
Head
take a
of
shot at it?
state.
Somebody want to take a shot at it?
It's a head of
Military slave?
What was that?
A military slave.
That's correct.
That's deep. I'm a
Well,
loop.
what type of military slave? Let's come here.
Someone
Egyptian.
who was converted.
From what? What were they? Mamluk or Mameluke were non-Arab, ethnically diverse, mostly Turkic, Caucasian,
Mm.
Mongols, Eastern and Southeastern European, enslaved mercenaries, slave soldiers, and freed slaves who were assigned high-ranking military and administrative duties in the Muslim world. Mm. In other words, we used to use uh, Albayans, the pale-faced people, as soldiers, slaves, or administrators, right? So this other guy, what was he? The Egyptian Mamluk Sultan. He was a sultan. So he was a slave with the designation of an administrator, that of a sultan. Oh. But he still worked for the Muslims, the Moors. Against who? The Moors. You see, the most enduring Mamluk realm was the knightly military class in medieval Egypt, which developed from the ranks of slave soldiers. Originally, the Mamluks were slaves of Turkic origins from the Eurasian steppe, but the institution of military slavery spread to include Circassians, Mongols, uh, 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 Abkhazians, Georgians, Armenians, Russians, Hungarians, as well as people from the Balkans, such as Albanians, Greeks, and South Slavs. They also recruited from the Egyptians. The Mamluk Ghulam phenomenon, as David Ayalon dubbed the creation of the specific warrior class, was of great political importance. For one thing, it endured for nearly 1,000 years, from the 9th century to the nearly 19th century. When you look at, let's look down here. Over time, Mamluk became a powerful military knightly class in various Muslim societies that were controlled by dynastic Arab rulers. You're talking about the Moors, particularly in Egypt and Syria, but also in the Ottoman Empire, Levant, Mesopotamia, and India. Mamluks held political and military power. In some cases, they attained the rank of sultan, while in others, they held regional power as emirs or beys. You see? Mm. Bey, also spelled as Baik, all that, right? Is a Turkic title for chieftain. When you see Turkic, we'll go for it. And a royal arist-
Aristocrat.
aristocratic title traditionally applied to people with special lineages to the leaders or rulers of variously seized areas in the numerous Turkic kingdom, emirates, sultanates, and empires in Central Asia, South Asia, Southeast Europe, and the Middle East, such as the Ottomans, Timuds, the or the various Khanates and Emirates in Central Asia and the Eurasian steppe. We already seen that, right? The feminine equivalent titles was Begum. Region or provinces were beys, ruled or which they administered were called beylik, roughly meaning governorate or region.
Point
These
of
are all
interest.
more identities. Go ahead, brother.
I just want to highlight uh just a few things. The system, obviously, that let's just say the Ottoman Empire, opposed to any other rendition of the Moroccan Empire, have been using their own verbiage when it comes to the way the Islamic system, so to speak, has been utilized, or this Moorish system. So in one system they're using Bey as governor, and another they're using Bey to represent a commander or a certain military status, and so on and so forth. So when we hear the quote unquote Moorish Americans say things like, El, is the whatever, the five, what they say, the five civilized tribes, and they relate to the Bay, the El, to these different things. We got to realize that it's a gumbo pot. when we when they're referencing things like that. When we're saying that these are titles, these are names, etc. In truth, in all honesty, no government um, has ever said, hey, well, I should say specifically the Moroccan government has never said you got to have the names Bey, El, Day, Ali, Al in your name to be a part of the Moroccan government. You know, our people were taught that we got to have these names attached to our names, or these quote unquote titles attached to our names, in order to be a true Moor, if you will, or that has something to do with you being a true Moor. When in truth, all that really was about was um, so that the you can be identified in the United States system that much more obviously. That's really what that pressure and those types of statements were all about, because nowhere in the treaty does it say such a thing. So just wanted to bring clarity as it relates to the names Bay, etc. I myself have the last name Bay, and I learned this history um, of the various meanings of the word Bay and the truth of it after I chose the name, in which that you know, again, when we're talking about these Arabic names, right? Or we got to get Bay El. I, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, um, you know, well, for one, you don't have to come in again with Bay El Ali or anything like that. You can be Mike Opatango, you know, but also, sticking with when we talking about our energy signature as a culture, what are we talking about? We're talking about something that has to be initiated, branded by us, by us. So when we're talking about Moroccanization, right? Remember in the House Resolution 75, they said that you're going through a speedy Americanization, meaning they're being Americanized, right? So what about Moroccanization? What about the culture of Moors, Moroccans? What does that look like? Does that look like everybody have the last name Bay? Everybody have the last name El, therefore it's hard to track who's related to who is, what does that look like? Does that look like we all adopt the Arabic names and etc.? What does that look like? You see, so I'm bringing this up so we can begin to think for ourselves and take on our own identity as Moors, right? Um, and find our energy signature as we're going through this Moroccanization, this decolonization process. Islam. So with that, I yield.
On an inch.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I got a point of interest as well.
Um, hold on, bro. Let us finish this read real quick, and then just
Okay.
hold. Take notes on that point of interest so that we don't lose it. I want to finish this read, and then because we got one more thing to read real quick. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead and finish reading. I just wanted to point out the Mamluk thing, so that you understand and know what a Mamluk is. I didn't mean to go down the rabbit hole on that. Go ahead, brother.
Ferdinand and Isabella's army besieged Granada in April 1491, and the surrender of the city was a foregone conclusion. This treaty is actually a marvel of religious tolerance, one that will be one that will be completely discarded in the frenzied force, conversion, expulsion, Spanish Inquisition period that was to follow over the next couple of centuries. It provided for Muslims in Granada to keep their property and places, freedom of worship if they chose to stay, and allowed them safe passage to North Africa if they chose to leave. It stipulated that Muslims in Granada should be governed according to Islamic law and not forced to convert to Christianity. It even exempted Granadan Muslims from taxation for some interim period of time. Boabdil went off into exile in Fez, where he lived until his death in 1533.
This is who they claim Boy Abdul look like. Really? Get out of here. Continue. We're almost done here.
The religious protections enshrined for all time in the treaty remained in place for less than a decade. By 1499, A scant 8 years later, Muslims living in Granada felt mistreated enough to revolt. Their uprising was quickly put down, but it was used as an excuse for Ferdinand and Isabella to tear up the Treaty of Granada and institute a policy of forced conversion or expulsion. One could argue that the Muslims got off easy. Jews were given the convert or get out choice in the Alhambra Decree of 1492 because they were Jews. Let's be honest. Ostensibly, the reason was concern over the sincerity of conversos, former Jews who had converted, often under some sort of coercion, to Christianity. But medieval Christians rarely needed a reason to do terrible things to European Jews. That wasn't the end, though. By the second half of the 16th century, conditions even for the Moriscos, the Christian descendants of former Muslims who had converted to Christianity and who were as thoroughly Spanish as anyone else living there, were deteriorating fast. This sparked several minor uprisings and then a second major rebellion in Granada from 1568 to 1573, pardon me. Many of the Moriscos were expelled from Spain at their own expense, no less, under royal decree starting in 1609.
So who are the Moriscos? Christian descendants of former Muslims who had converted to Christianity. So this is another perspective from the foreign exchange. What is it called? The foreign exchange the website regarding the historical accounts of what took place. Spanish painter Francisco Padilla Ortiz, 1882, capitulation of Granada, depicted Muhammad the 12th on the left, surrendering to Ferdinand and Isabella on the right. So these are the Christians, these are the Moors. Look at the headdresses. So now let's look at the Moors wheat. You can look at this here. I was going to go through it, but I think we've made the point. I want to get to this one here. That's the famous portrait, which is called the Moors weep, because he's looking back weeping as he's, him and his troops marching away from the kingdom. Read this real quick, good brother.
Boabdil el Chico, Muhammad the 12th of Granada, the last sultan of the Nasrid kingdom of Granada, fought fiercely to defend his heritage, Al-Andalus, against the inexorable advance of the Catholic monarchs. His reign, marked by power struggles and fragile alliances, ended in a bitter capitulation in 1492, sealing the fate of Granada and that of its sovereign. Born in the Alhambra in 1452, Boabdil was the son of King Abu I Hassan Ali and Queen Axa bint Mohammed al-Hawra. From a very young age, he was plunged into the intrigues and rivalries that tore apart the Nasrid court. Impatient to take the reins of power, he did not hesitate to rebel against his father in 1482 with the support of his mother. This family betrayal allowed him to sit on the throne, but his reign lasted only a year. Captured by the Catholic monarchs in 1483, he was forced to cede his power to his father. Freed, thanks to a circumstantial alliance with the Catholic monarchs, Boabdil found himself caught in a complex geopolitical chess game. He fought against his father and then his uncle Muhammad, 11, 12, 13, the 13th, Azaghal, who had successfully succeeded him, weakening the kingdom of Granada and paving the way for its reconquest by the Christians. In 1487, he regained the throne, but faced with the growing threat of the Catholic monarchs, he signed an agreement with them in 1491, ceding the entire kingdom to them. This agreement, however, was not respected by the victors. Granada fell into the hands of the Catholic monarchs in 1492, and the Mudehars, yeah, thank you. Mudehars, Muslims living in Christian territory, were forced to convert or flee. As for Boabdil, he is said to have ceded the kingdom to Ferdinand and spent the rest of his life in exile in Morocco, haunted by loss of his kingdom and weeping like a woman according to the words of his mother. The figure of Boabdil remains controversial. Some describe him as a weak and incompetent sultan, unable to defend his people against the invader. Others emphasize the difficult circumstances in which he had to reign, marked by internal struggles and growing military pressure. But the historical sources on this period are often biased and must be analyzed with a critical eye. Far from being a simple black or white character, Boabdil embodies the complexity of a pivotal era, that of the Christian reconquest of the Iberian Peninsula.
In the beginning of the fall of the Moors. So his mom said, that he be weeping like a woman. He's weeping like a woman. That's what his mom said. But how did he end up on the throne? Were y'all paying attention to the read? How did Boabdil end up on the throne?
He cooled his father.
Yeah, he was treacherous.
They should have
His
killed
mama,
him.
his
He should
mama,
have been murdered.
What was that?
He should have been murdered.
JB.
Well, I mean, he succeeded with the coup. So he was the king. So he can't, they can't do nothing to him. He's the king now. He's the head of state. So there's, and then he ended up supposedly giving it back to his father, but under certain circumstances that renders him an agent.
Right.
He was a
So he was
sellout.
a spy. He was a spy.
He ended up being that pretty much.
That's why the monarchs let him live when they captured him. They said, "You got to be our spy."
Exactly. They captured him. See, that's chess. They captured him. They captured his crown, his crown, his throne. And then it spilled over in 1492. I mean, in October, because in October, who comes over here? Christopher Columbus, the Conversamores, who helped him navigate over here to the land of milk and honey. The Tartarian civilization, so called, right? That where everything is interconnected. If we establish lights over there for them, what did we have over here? What we've just read is not even half the story. We're scraping the surface. They'll tell you, oh, you had lights. Yeah, but you're not specifying the magnitude of it. You're downplaying the lights. If this side of the world was all interconnected and all beautiful and everything was together, free energy, ethers, imagine what we did over there for them. It's no different than them saying, oh, it was Thomas Edison who invented the light bulb. No, it's not. It's a bold-faced lie. There was light bulbs in the 1400s. Even before that, in Egypt, you see light bulbs on the pyramids, as a hieroglyphs. So everything. This is the motherland, the West. It all started over here and made its way eastward. The fall began in the east or in Europe and made its way over here and ended over here. So now we're rising back up from where? Over here once again.
Right.
The rise and fall and the rise again is all happening in the West. This is the ancient land. This is the land uh, of promise, the promised land.
Come on,
I mean,
come on. You still eating that, man?
you got a mute, good brother.
Put it in the garbage.
You got a mute. Who's that? Quentin Bay,
Oh,
Ampeg,
no, I'm sorry. My bad. My bad.
with the fly fez. Um, what was I saying? Yeah, that's why there's something special about the West. Everything started over here. There's more pyramids over here than there is over there. So the conquest ended here. And that's why it's such a concerted effort in just the reign that these Europeans had for these past couple hundred years. Couple hundred, not even that much. Because don't get it twisted. It's not that in the 1400s we just fell. No, it took 500 years. It began in Alhambra, Granada. Over a period of time, all these paper bulls and all these decrees and all these documents and all this and that. Because even throughout that time, we had Moorish governments, even up to the Treaty of I can't recall the name of the treaty between Morocco and Great Britain in 1856. The Queen was requesting of the Sultan that the Moorish government not be allowed to enter or interfere with their dealings with their Moorish subjects. So you had some that were Moorish subjects or slaves or prisoners of war, whatever you want to put it, however you want to put it. But then you also have Moorish government.
Point of interest.
Yep.
And to your point, as far as how everything started over here, you know, uh, Spain in their uh conquest over here, they're said to have started in 1492, right? Shortly thereafter, with the ties to Christopher Columbus, so to speak, and that's how they made their way and all this types of stuff, right? But everybody always left out the treaty. Okay, well, we just read how the fall of Granada is what allowed Spain to have these capitulations, right? So where where did Granada have territory? If you were to type in Google, did Granada have territory? Let's just say call it America for now, right? Since everybody knows it is America. Um, did Granada have territory in America? No. That lawfully they'd be like, no. Like, what are you talking about? No. Okay, did Spain have territory in America? Yeah, yeah. Oh, matter of fact, it's this 1492 deal. Oh yeah, we can go back to 1492. They got this treaty with the Granada, and now all of a sudden they're in the picture. Okay, so why are they all of a sudden in the picture, but not Granada? That's because for well, actually for a few reasons, but we're talking about social engineering at the end of the day because Spain had territory right on this landmass. However, if you look up Granada, it says no. Okay, well, where's the tie? Where's the tie to this landmass, Spain and Granada? Since Spain popped up out of nowhere, Granada's not in the pictures, obviously, right? And we're here questioning everything. Okay, so now we're getting into the whole map manipulation and all that, but you can get into that if you like, because all those maps, again, I say this all the time, they don't go back past 1492 for a reason, because they were created by Europeans who said this was America. Hundreds of years later, who we got? Europeans coming here calling themselves Americans, just like they've been projecting for so long. They finally got here, set up shop, and now everybody's saying America still. Right. So when we talk about how everything started here, we got to read between the lines. Why was Grenada left out? Why is Spain all of a sudden picture known as having territory here? Right? What is this treaty all about? Where's the connection to the Moroccan Empire, Grenada, Spain, and this landmass? We just made it all make sense. We just made it all make sense. So, you got to take those maps with a grain of salt, and you can't weigh that out with, don't try to weigh the truth out with those maps entirely. But so I did want to say that, as it relates to us having to utilize the treaties as paramount ways of measuring something. The paramount ways of measuring something. Take everything, the scene, the parties, everything, and then from there let everything trickle down. Because again, to the Sultan's point, now you with this, everything started here. Everything started here, just as it's doing again right now. Everything started here. All right, and with that, I yield.
Was gone. And so what happened? What happened to us? Well, this is a report from Mr. Philip, Charge d'Affaires, to Mr. Root, the Secretary of State, August 3rd, 1906. Where did it take place? Where was Mr. Philip, the American legation? Tangier, August 3rd, 1906. What is an American legation? Anyone want to take a stab at it? Well, it's like having a German legation. It's like having a Spanish legation. It's a diplomatic post in Tangier, Morocco, where all the states that belong to the Sultan convened, had missions, foreign missions. How else is the Sultan supposed to oversee his states? Well, you have legations, diplomatic posts. So who are the who are the parties to the contract? Let's see here. This is the 1906 Act of Algeciras. The parties must be known. Go into the signature page. Where is it? How many is 120? Here we are. Okay. So we got, who do we have? We got France. So we had a French legation. We have Italy, Great Britain. We had a British legation, Italy, Italian legation, Morocco, which is the empire. No signature though. Okay. Netherlands. There's a Netherlands legation. Portugal, there's a Portuguese legation. Russia, there's a Russian legation. Sweden, there's a Swedish legation. In Tangier, Morocco, all the way up to 1906. The diplomatic body. That's what became the League of Nations. And the League of Nations became the United Nations. Do you get my drift here? Do you see the buildup? This is how we know. Plus, keep in mind, all of those bodies, international bodies, were established during the time of the empire being in full force and effect. The United Nations came into existence in 1945. The empire was still around under the rulership of who? Who had limited authority over the empire during that time? In 1945.
France.
Right.
That's right. The French protectorate. So we had the American legation. This is how you know we're not Americans. Why would we have a legation in our own Morocco? Make that make sense. We're not Americans. They are the Americans. They were required to have a legation in Morocco, in Tangier, Morocco. Sir, there are strictly speaking no Moroccan laws relating to citizenship of Moorish subjects in Morocco. The fundamental laws of this non-Christian country, remember, we're just talking about Muslims and Christians. The fundamental laws of this non-Christian country are based entirely upon the Islamic code, no part of which treats of the subject of citizenship. There are, however, numerous treaties and conventions. Now, let me remind you, This is the United States statesman, a charge d'affaires. It's a lesser rank than an ambassador, even lesser than a consul general, stationed in Morocco, Tangier, Morocco, at the American legation. Part of the negotiations, part of what was going down with the drafting of the Act of Algeciras. So he was asked for a report to be delivered to the Secretary of State of the United States. This is the report. There are, however, numerous treaties and conventions between the various Christian countries. And what empire? The Moorish Empire. By means of which citizenship in this country is defined. But as I understand from the above acknowledged instructions, there were instructions that it is not the desire of the department to call for a report upon such lines. I will therefore confine these remarks to general conditions existing. In other words, I'm gonna watch my mouth and what I say here. I'm gonna be as discreet as I can with what I'm about to say to you. I will therefore, which may possibly be of some use in connection with the information desired. There's an information that you need to know something here. The United States need to know something. So they reached out to Hoffman Schiller. We need to know what's going on with who. Okay. Citizenship in Morocco may be said to be governed by the laws pertaining to the same in other countries, with the exception that all persons residing in Morocco who cannot prove foreign citizenship or protection are considered ipso jure as Moorish subjects. Foreign, who cannot prove foreign citizenship or protection. Foreign to what? Foreign to the United States. If you can't prove foreign citizenship or protection, you're a Moorish subject. Ipso jure means in fact. You're a Moorish subject. Someone who's subjugated to the European powers as naturalized persons. So in order to come out of that status, you got to be able to prove foreign citizenship and protection. That's where nationality comes in. You have to repatriate back to the Empire of Morocco, and now you can prove foreign citizenship and protection. Nationality. Do you all understand what I'm saying here? This is what they're telling us. This is not even what they're telling us. This is what he's telling them. Okay. What happened though? Moorish subjects lost their nationality. So we know that we lost our nationality because black is not a nationality. Moorish subjects lost their nationality only by becoming naturalized in or protected by another country having treaty relations with who? The Moorish Empire. It was established by the Convention of Madrid, concluded July 3rd, 1880, as follows. Article 15, see? So again, this is your enemy corresponding about you, trying to figure out what's going on with you. But I need you to confine your remarks. Don't open up a can of worms here. Just be careful with what you say. Please. These people don't need to know, but we need to know what's going on. So what did it say? Any subject is talking about Article 15. Any subject of Morocco who has been naturalized in a foreign country and who shall return to Morocco shall, after having remained for a length of time equal to that which shall have been regularly necessary for him to obtain such naturalization, choose between entire submission to the laws of the empire. You got to choose the entire submission to the laws of the empire and the obligation to quit Morocco, unless it shall be proved that his naturalization in a foreign country, the United States is a foreign country, France is a foreign country. So those French Moors or Moroccans, naturalized Moroccans, that's French Moors. Naturalized Americans is American Moors, Black Americans, Black French, Black British, all Moors, all Moroccans that were naturalized in a foreign country. Now your new designation is no longer Moroccan, is now French, British, American, Russian, Portuguese, Swedish. You gotta understand this. Unless it shall be proved that his naturalization in a foreign country was obtained with the consent of the government of Morocco. Foreign naturalization, therefore, or heretofore, acquired by subjects of Morocco. So the foreign naturalization that continues against you, according to the rules established by the laws of each country. What are those each countries? We just went over them. Sweden, Netherlands, Portugal, United States, etc. Shall be continued to them as regards all its effects without any restrictions. Then he goes on to say, the above ruling has never yet been acted upon. Oh, snap. Because this ruling came out in 1880. It's now 1906. And he's saying that the above ruling has never been acted upon. What does that mean? We got comfortable with being black. I don't know. It was 1906. So what were we at the time? Colors? Negro? The above ruling has never yet been acted upon. And should this at any time, be contemplated seriously, a large number of naturalized people, American, Black Americans, and others, Black British. The others represent the Black British, the French British. I mean, the Black British, the Black French, right? The Black Italians. Let's read it again. The above ruling has never yet been acted upon. And should this at any time be contemplated seriously, a large number of naturalized people, American naturalization, that's the Black people, and others, French. You see how he's confining his remarks? He's not saying too much, but saying a lot. Residing in Morocco will be affected thereby. Residence in foreign parts does not affect the nationality of Moorish subjects, and the Moorish government has no means of protecting his subjects permanently residing in other countries, with the exception of a so-called Moorish consul at Gibraltar and a Moorish agent at Cairo, Egypt. You see how they keep talking about the Moorish government, the Moorish agent, the Moorish this, the Moorish subjects, the Moorish. Are we paying attention? This is 1906, and we had what? Moorish consul, Moorish agents, Moorish government in 1906. In 1906. Who was around during that time that taught us
Noble
that we
Drew.
were Moors? Oh,
Noble
yeah,
Drew.
something like that. Somebody like that. That's his name, Hoffman Philip. We got to study, man. We got to study and make ourselves approved.
Oh,
The information is out there. That's why I'm doing these classes. I'm giving you the reference points for you to turn around and go back and look at it, read it, study it yourself. Man knows not by being told. I'm not a block of wood pointing the way. I'm showing you what you need to see in order for you to make your decision in a competent, scholastic manner. This is law. That's them talking to them. And they're trying to confine their remarks. They don't want you because they don't want you to know about this. Okay, so I'm exposing it to you. Keep in mind, this document has been pointed out to us, but they didn't go in this deep. They always stop here. Lamont L stops right here. They never go into Article 15. I know a lot of people got love for Taj, but Taj stops here. Why? Why doesn't he ever comes into this? He never breaks this down. Ever. And I've seen many videos. Lamont L, same thing. Stops right here. So and they make it seem like Moorish subject is something good. No, it's not nothing good at all. Moorish subject means that you're a naturalized foreign person. I mean, naturalized in a foreign country. And your job, in order to come out of that status, is in Article 15. That's why he spoke on it. And you must choose the entire submission. Meaning you must come back home, repatriate, take up your allegiance to your mother country. and cease and desist the foolishness of operating as an American of any sort, whether it be Moorish American, Indian American, whatever, Amadu Khan. Care about none of that. What does the treaty say? Don't say nothing about Amadu Khan. Don't say nothing about Mur. It says Moors. Everything that we just read today don't say nothing about no Mur. It's not to disregard it. It's not to disrespect it. But what it is to say is we must know the name of the parties. The parties on the contract must be known. I cannot book a plane ticket as Abdullah, but then I show up, my ID says Abdul. You can say, oh no, but see, it's just the U, an extra U and two L's in that. You can't do that. You can say, oh no, it's just from an O to a U to U. You can't do that. You can't say, well, Amadu Khan. No, it says Moroccan Empire. These what they were just talking about, what did they say? Moorish Empire. It didn't say the Washington Empire. It didn't say the Moor Empire. It didn't say no other empire but the Moorish Empire. The parties must be known. And then after the parties is known, then the status is next. What do you want? What do I mean? Who is superior? Who's inferior? Well, in these several treaties with these Christian nations, who was superior? Who was inferior? Well, the empire was superior. The Moorish Empire was superior, and the European powers were inferior. The Treaty of Granada, the Christians were superior, and the Moors of that region of Granada were inferior. That doesn't represent the empire as a whole. As a matter of fact, he was exiled to the empire, where he died. It doesn't say nothing about Bloods and Crips. It doesn't say nothing about Moorish Americans. It don't say nothing about the Nation of Islam and black Asiatic black man. It doesn't say nothing about Olmec. It doesn't say nothing about Hebrew Israelite. It doesn't say nothing about African American. You name it. Choose the identity that we are subjugated by, or should I say, manipulated by, or propagandized by. You choose it. Whatever it is that you come up with, Indian, Cherokee, Lenni Lenape, is not in the treaty. None of that is in these treaties. These Europeans, colonists, conversing, corresponding based on a report that's been asked of him while being stationed next to the Sultan, is telling you what it is. It's the Moorish Empire and the Moorish government and the subjects of Morocco and the Moorish subjects. That's all we need. What? Let's keep it simple. KISS. I've always wanted to know what they know that we don't know. This is it. This is it right here. So that's the class. I want to open up the floor now for comments, questions, and concerns. I know some brothers have some questions. I hope you took notes, wrote it down for this moment here. I'll open the floor for comments, questions, and concerns. I yield.
Point of interest. So within the Treaty of Granada, it was speaking about Moorish law. And based on the research I did previously on the Treaty of Granada, the way they described Moorish law was actually Sharia law. So my question is actually, is Sharia law Moroccan law? I yield.
Um, well, we got to distinguish between the times. Are you talking about then or are you talking about now? Then perhaps it was Sharia law. Today it's Moroccan law. Is the written text based on the Constitution and the legislative acts that come after that. Because The empire is based on a secular state, a secular system, in which the Constitution is the foundational law, not based in any religion, but based in the human rights of we the people. The democracy that's being used as part of as the political procedures for the republic to exercise their authority over their government officials. So there's a difference between now and then. So we're talking about today, right now, is based in our Constitution and the legislative acts that comes along as the institutional act, the added language or added legislative acts to represent circumstances that weren't considered upon drafting the Constitution in the first place. That's what a statute is. So when the Moors say statutes is unconstitutional, that's a misconcept. It's incompetent statements to be making. Stop saying that. You're exposing your ignorance. Statute is not unconstitutional. It's added language to the Constitution. The Constitution, a Constitution cannot be the foundation, the only law. Like right now, the Constitution doesn't say nothing about the Moorish Science Temple of America becoming the Moorish Science Temple of Morocco. Well, then you draft a bill to recognize it as such. Well, that's just what I did. So I hope the Speaker and the Prime and the House and the Council, the Wazir Council, pass it as soon as possible, expeditiously, so we can begin the process of promulgating it to then bring awareness and get the curiosity from the Moorish Americans in the temples and the Grand Sheiks. Looking for those who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear that the divine and national movement need to be bridged with the temples and the empire. I yield. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Kind of quiet tonight. Y'all
Right,
full off
right.
that turkey. Y'all full off that pig, that ham. I know.
That swine, that good swine,
Mhm.
was crazy. But yeah, um, I got some.
And I had 2 plates.
I didn't eat. Fasting for the royal ancestors. On whose shoulders I stand.
Well, like I said in the beginning of the call, I mean, if you're celebrating family and friends, that's honorable. I understand that. I ain't tripping on that. But at the very least, know the history involved and educate your people at the dinner table. I've been there. I've been a black sheep all my life. They'll say a prayer holding hands around the food. And when they say amen, I say amen ra. And they'll look at me like, what? Uh, just never mind. Right? In other words, I'm just playing the knowledge giving them a hint at least as to where a man come from. It comes from Egypt. But yet you're saying that as a Christian in modern day times, not understanding the root of it. That's where we lose as a people. We don't know the root of things. We just do things to do it because it's a societal norm without understanding the true history and understanding and meaning behind a lot of these things.
Right. That's one point of interest. So to camel back on what you're saying, that's why I recommend you more is to download the online etymology dictionary. It's online. It's an app. And it's a etymology dictionary, and it'll help you if you want to know the root of words. And it helps.
Yeah.
Islam.
Yeah, the etymon, the root meaning of a word. When you look in the etymon online and you look up the word more, it tells you Negro. There's a lot of fluff, Berbers and this and that, North Africa. And at the end of the day, it says Negroes. And you go all up and down the street and around the corner just to say Negro. Just say Negro. Stop trying to sugarcoat it. All right, let's make that point without just talking about it. Let's be about it.
Islam.
Okay. So let's look up Etymology on that.
It's called an online Edimon.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is.
Edimon.
Is it? Let's see.
Yeah,
Look at this platform.
ETYMON.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there we go.
Now let's look up the word more. Look at what they do. So they give you the verb to fasten a ship, the noun, tract of open, untilled more or less elevated ground. Now the uppercase more for the people. North African Berber, one of the race dwelling in Berberi, so on and so forth. All this and all that. Only to come back and say black, right? Perhaps a native name or else cognate with moros, black. But this adjective appears in late Greek and may as well be from the people's name. More means black. Then you go on some more. What do you say down here? Negro. Also applies to
Being
the Arabic conquerors of Spain. See, so now it's Arabic. But in the read, they said Muslim. You see the games? Oh, now it's Arabic. Also applies to the Arabic conquerors of Spain, being a dark people in relation to Europeans. Their name in the Middle Ages was a synonym for Negro. So you say all that to say Negro. Later, being the name of the nearest Muslims to Western Europe, it was used indiscriminately of Muslims, Persian, Arabs, etc. But specifically those in India. You see what they doing? All that's
Sultan. Can you put blessed in there? Can you put blessed and show the people what blessed is? Hopefully they ain't changed it and altered it. But watch this, y'all.
I mean, yeah, blessed. Let's look at blessed. Supremely happy, also consecrated, but holy, past participle, participle, adjective for from blessed, reverse, cursed, damned, right? Reversed or ironic sense of cursed, damned, but it's a reversed or
No,
ironic
scroll
sense.
down. Scroll down.
That's why we should be blissful,
Right
not
there.
blessed.
Right there.
Oh,
Right
from
there.
blood? Oh, yeah, I don't know. By the Middle East, blessing. Yeah, yeah. Concentrate by religious right, make holy, give her thanks. From Proto Germanic, hollow with blood, mark with blood. Yeah, because originally a blood sprinkling on pagan altars. So that's what like when the Catholics remember when they do their ceremony, I forgot what they called it, the Holy Communion, I think is what they call it. See, what they do is they'll eat a
The
piece of
body.
bread, which represents the flesh, and drink wine, which represents the blood.
That's kind of
And all that represents cannibalism.
right.
You eat the flesh and drink the blood of the Christ. But who is the Christ? Who is the Christ? Who is the passion of the Christ? Who brings justice?
The Moors.
Okay, so they're eating our flesh and drinking our blood. Right, politically speaking, but also literally speaking, right? The adrenochrome and all that. Drinking
Right.
of the blood of the they called it the walnut. That's what Hillary Clinton was crazy about the Haitian kids. Remember what happened with the Haitian kids? That's a whole other story. Hint, hint.
Uh-huh.
They call them the
And
walnut, but that's another situation. That's a whole other class, a whole other story, a whole other situation. But yeah, that's what they
to
do.
make one pour out blood. That's what blessed is.
Right. Well, there's different meanings. It depends on how you position the conversation, right? Because it also could mean the good meaning. That's what the first definition was. So you have to be mindful of the context. That's why context and concepts and things is what matters because it gives you what the meaning. What is it that you're trying to say? What's the context or the concept of that which you're trying to say?
Right.
You
I
see?
say that's why I say blissed. Blissed.
Yeah, but again, the first definition, right? Reversed or ironic sense of cursed, damned. So and then it says supremely happy, consecrated, holy. So I mean, if you're gonna focus on the the second definition, then I could understand that, but you can't be mad at someone who focus on the first definition. See, that's why, these words got to be really, looked up.
Yeah.
It's
Kind of like
about
what we
intent, man.
Point of entry.
and
Point.
it's
It's
uh,
it's
mhm.
it's I got my family saying peace to you when we sneeze or anything like that, or when a person's about to say bless you, we've been saying peace to you for a long time. So I yield. I just feel like
I mean that's cool too. Anything that denotes positivity,
yes,
positive energy, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
there's
Right. But we got to look these words up. Just like how we believe that democracy was an evil word. Right now, we thinking that the consul general is some sort of attorney, and he's not. Or he, or I mean, or she. The consul general is a consul agent that oversees a consulate abroad in a foreign jurisdiction on behalf of and in protections of any national that may be in that may reside or visit that particular territory. So there's a lot. There's been some interesting miseducation coming from AMPAC 2.0. But it's a new empire with a new vision and a new direction. We're gonna clean all of it up. This is an ongoing cleanup, y'all. We're not finished. This is an ongoing thing. There's a lot of things that we got to clear up and fix. You see,
So
but we've got a lot of great progress coming along.
point of,
Well, Islam.
point of
Go ahead, bro.
interest. So you know how they coming out with all their dictionaries. We could come out with our own, right?
Yeah, we can make our own dictionary. We can define all the words within our own jurisdiction.
Right.
But of course, we want to do it in a competent way,
Right. Yeah.
in alignment with historical records and things. So
Yeah.
we will
With
leave
the
that up to
denotator.
right. So we'll leave that up to a linguistic expert of sorts under the educational reforms that's due to that's due to come. There's 6 reforms, right? Administrative, judicial, economic. No, let me see. Hold on. Let me back up. Administrative, judicial, education, economic, financial, and military reforms. So we're working on the administrative and the judicial. Right now, where this class represents the educational reforms, but there's more to come from that. At the time, the Impact study sessions would have represented it as well, and it still could if you want to watch it. I don't watch it. I'm done with it. I can't stand to hear his voice anymore. I've learned enough. I got all the reference points that I need. I don't need it anymore. I don't need to hear about gerrymandering and Letitia James. I could care less.
Right. And I spoke to it's a new brother on the call. Shout out to Randy. Shout out to you, Randy. I appreciate you for showing up, brother. Randy is a young brother. He's 20 years old. He out here in Texas. I appreciate you, Randy. Islam.
And
And we were
point of
talking about
interest.
that today.
Yes, go ahead, Attorney General, and welcome, Randy. Go ahead, G.
Welcome, brother Randy. Glad to have you. 20 years old is glorious. We have to realize that everyone needs mentorship. Um, it don't matter where you're at in life, you need to be able to lean on somebody um, to get different perspectives of what's going on. And when you don't have mentorship or anybody to lean on, then there's no one that can actually course correct you. Um, and this is why the Sultan was giving counsel, because the Sultan has never been a Sultan.
He's a year and a half, almost 2 years in. It would be very. I learned in business, and instead of you firing the guy that you get upset with, uh, and he's been working with you for 3 years and he makes a mistake, instead of firing him, how about you're wasting the energy that you put into that person for 3 years. You've wasted all the good things that you've done with that person in 3 years, and you fired this person. And now you have to start all over again. So
Yeah, but I didn't get fired though. But just
I'm not pertaining to you. So excuse me.
okay.
I'm not talking about you, brother. I'm giving a scenario. I'm giving a scenario of what's going on. Okay. So when we look at what we've been taught the last, let's say, 4 years, it was a lot of education by somebody educating themselves, and as being self-taught, you're going to make some mistakes. It's just like running a company. I'm 26 years in, but I've made a slew of mistakes over the years when I didn't go to mentorship or I didn't have mentorship around me. So it, 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 the brother that was teaching AMPAC study sessions that still continue, this is a person that got into it just like me and all you guys got into it, and didn't have mentorship. Just said, "Well, I'm going to study and I'm going to say what I think we should be doing," instead of having 100% confirmation on what we actually should be doing. So when we look at our empire now, as we transition to new phases and new thought processes on how we want to teach things, this is like a meeting of the minds. We all talk to each other multiple times throughout the week. Brother Rashid, Sardin, like we're all constantly talking to each other and reading and kind of like throwing things off of each other, right? And it's never a scenario where my way is the right way. It's a scenario of what best makes sense on how we can get our people going in the right direction. So 5.5 years from now, our Sultan Abdul Smith Al-Kabir, the Jur Sultan, is going to be so much stronger as a Sultan. We would look real silly to unless some tragedies happen within the empire. We would look real silly to elect anybody else in, because now he's got 7 years strong. He knows what it is, right? And that's the thing about business, is the thing about work, is the thing about studying more science. We all come from, when we first started, we learned that we were Moors. And then we learned, and then I know for me, I learned that I was a Moor on the streets of Detroit. My uncle had done some, time in prison. He come out, he's talking about the Moor. And then years later, somebody else brought more to me. And I'm like, okay. And then as I started studying, then they told me that, okay, well, are you a Temple Moor or Civic Moor? I'm like, brother, I don't know. I just started studying more. Right? So I'm a Moor. Is there a difference between a Temple and a Civic? Ain't we all just Moors? So y'all had come from Morocco, right? And then after that, then it became, right? Then it became, okay, if you a Civic Moor or a Temple Moor, and then we became Moorish Americans, right? And then after that, we became Moroccan nationals. And then before that, remember, we were Black, African American, and colored. Man, we've been 10 and 11 different names. So we have been a confused nation of people and that's the way the Europeans wanted it for hundreds of years. And now we're coming back into conscious mind now. We're learning that our bloodline, and we're descendants of Morocco, like the prophet said. We're learning that, and then we had to go into a brand new learning curve. One brother was telling us that we're not Moorish American. Okay, I'm cool with that. And telling us that the Moorish Americans were our enemies, and the Temple Moors were just afraid to come from behind the temples, and then that created division. Hopefully y'all listening to what I'm saying. That created division amongst the Moors. Isn't this the same blueprint that happened with Martin Luther King, Malcolm Malik, the Nation of Islam? And who was involved? I'm gonna leave y'all Moors with this. Who was involved in all those breakups? Wasn't it the United States of America?
Right, Islam.
It was the United States of America that was involved in all those historical breakups. Then all of a sudden, June 8, 2024, the Empire of Morocco comes out of a shallow grave, which was a great, glorious day. We all came together. And the United States stuck their nose in it. And they said, brother, we brought you to break this up, but you bringing them brothers and sisters back together. Now you need to figure out on how you're going to divide them again, because that wasn't your job. So that's when the Moorish Americans started being talked about real heavily. That's when Taj Tariq Bey started being attacked. This is when the Temple Moors, the Grand Sheik, started to being attacked. Hopefully y'all see the blueprint on the wall.
Yes, sir.
Moors, don't let that demonic history repeat itself. You elected a de jure sultan who's back teaching again. Throughout the corruption, it was told that he should not teach. Why? Because he brings people together. He has passion about what he's doing. He's very erudite, right? So he was told, no, you just sit back and you don't teach the people, because we don't want people, we don't want you listening, because we know how attractive people is to you. And this is what Allah saved y'all from, the mother. She says, no, I can't do this to my babies again, because my babies are working their tails off. They're trying to be upright. They're staying out of trouble. They're not trying to really be on the roadways. Certain majority of them not trying to be on the roadways, getting themselves in trouble. So the mother had to do what she had to do to cleanse the empire so we can stay on our straight, narrow path. We've grown. There's a new website. The erudition is back up now for the brand new brothers and sisters that's coming back in. The erudition is now the Sultan's teaching again. We haven't lost the style. And what you always start with, Moors, is not what you're going to finish with. What you start with is not what you're going to finish with. Because the brothers like Rashid and the DJs and the Vegas and the Daryl, like these brothers needed to see how it is to be a poor wazir. And a wazir with a tail between the legs. They needed to see that in order for them to become the wazirs that they're going to become, in their states. So you guys got to realize is that Impact 2.0 was brought to you so the empire can move faster ahead. We replaced the Minister of Foreign Affairs with a more erudite Minister of Foreign Affairs. We replaced the deputy wazir with a more upstanding brother. Then we brought in Ali Bamu. Hopefully I'm saying it right, brother DJ. And then the prime ministers got to sit and watch for years on the do's and the don'ts, on how he does not want to be a prime minister, or what it's going to take what the people need as the prime minister. So what was brought to you was what was brought to you as Impact 2.0. All it did was just strengthen the empire of Morocco. Now we know the difference between right and wrong. Not saying we won't make mistakes, but we know what we don't actually want to do. They at least showed us that. I yield.
Islam, well said, AG. But for the record,
What's
just,
wrong,
just as I
AG?
just as I pointed out, for the record, just as I pointed out, Taj Tariq Bey doesn't go past here. I've never seen the man do that, and neither does his student, Lamont Ill. So I wouldn't say an attack on Taj, but he is pointing out some truths about Taj. But he must look at himself as well, because he ain't no damn better. In fact, I think he's worse. Absolutely worse. He's treacherous, but he is right about the foolishness. Like, bro, Taj, why is it that you're always stopping hearing? He never goes down and talks about Article 15. He avoids it. People can get in their feelings, and he's an elder. I don't care about age. One day, Jay Bay is going to be an elder too. Isn't Jesse Jackson an elder? Do I owe him allegiance and respect because of his age? Or am I looking at the contents of your character? That's what I'm looking at.
Right. The contents of their character.
That's what by that I don't care about your gender. Oh, she's a matriarch. No, what is her character? Oh, he's an elder. No, what about his character? It's about the character. It's not about your age. It's not about your station. It's not about your rank. It's not about your money. It's not about your height, your weight, none of that. Your nationality, your color. It's about your character. And when you have a man who breaks this down, but then doesn't go down all the way, giving you half truths, giving you half information, I got to look at him. I love him because he's done some excellent stuff on behalf of the people. But at the same time, there's too many of these types of occurrences with that good brother. Or he'll go halfway, or he'll tell you something but not. And like he told the panel of, I can't remember the name of that channel, that show. What do you regret? What would you regret in this movement? Not doing half of what I knew I should do. What is that other half, sir? Because I do see you pointing out treaty stuff over a period of time. You go back and look at his old videos. He points out things. So when you learn international law, it gives you a bird's eye view on matters. Information hits different. Noble Drew Ali's literature hits different when you understand international law and statehood and political science. It hits way different. You can clearly see the corruption in his literature. So I just wanted to make that point clear. Because I'm not brand new now. I'm in alignment with him about that. But then I'm also throwing him in the pot too. See, you get credit for everything, good or bad. So you get credit for preparing the Constitution, but then you also get credit for undermining the same Constitution that you prepared. You see, it's just as simple as that. All credit is due, good or bad. Except with this guy, it's treacherous. It's nasty work. But we're past that. Who cares? We're demonstrating forward progress, and that's all that really matters. I gotta extend serious thanks for all the support from all the people that's on the call, all those who are, in the Telegram, all those who see the truth, all those who stand with love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Really, more so justice, because we're talking about the rule of law, the constitutional rule of law that was being undermined, and the authority of the Sultan that was being undermined. I'm the boss, not you. Oh, am I not capable? Okay, well, let me show you something. Because the people elected me for a reason. And I ran on an agenda and a mission and a vision that was absent of his. I'm not new to knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. 20 plus years studying knowledge of self. He's new to this. There was so much you could have taught me, sir, other than just international law. Thank you for that. Let's not disregard what I taught him. See, people don't know the backstory, but we ain't going there. People don't know. So y'all can get swayed by that fake, fraudulent Sultan who's doing TikTok lives. He's a TikToker now. No. Get on the platform. Get in a virtual classroom. Do that. Pull up reference points and teach. Oh, go get your own seal. That's the Al Kabir seal. Try that. Every sultan should have his own seal. Oh, you're not creative enough to create your own seal. You got to use my seal, steal my seal. Moors, the betrayal runs deep. Reading that story about Boabdil and the betrayal that his father experienced with his own son, hit home. It hit home. You guys don't understand. You guys don't understand the deep involvement. Deep. I brought the people. He brought the education, so-called. I brought the people in record numbers. Who else? Akil Bey, who happens to be the prime minister as well. Grand Wazir. We brought the people. If it ain't for us, there ain't no empire and no WRC. You can't have it without the people.
Facts.
Period, point blank. And that's why, oh, you don't need to teach classes anymore. Trying to disappear me from the people. Well, I'm back. And I feel free, y'all. I can spread my wings. My leadership is not based in me having making unilateral decisions and telling people what to do. My leadership is to empower everyone to do their part. And I just sit back and observe and supervise the operation, guide the operation. Y'all grown men, y'all got this. And women, grown men, women as well. We're all grown-ups, we're all adults, we're all capable. I don't need to tell you what to do. If it comes to it, then I will, but the ideal operation is for people to just work together like in a cohesive manner, sort of like a um conveyor belt concept type of thing. That's my leadership. Not me trying to be the boss. So there's no ego. It's all about decolonization. I just happen to hold the office that's necessary in order to accomplish the task, along with the country. Islam. So that's our presentation for today. Hopefully brought some value to the audience, whether it be you on the call or those who may watch later on. The fall of Granada was a pivotal moment in which we began the fall of our political power and authority, and our cultural and identity and national character, in which we became a crayon that's from Africa, a crayon from Africa, an African crayon. That's what we, that's what we became. Right? And in doing so, it rendered the Moroccan nationality obsolete and without effect. Right? The Moors became black, strictly so, without the knowledge and understanding of anything else outside of that identity. Right? And naturalization, which is heartbreaking. But it's a new era of time, it's the golden age. And even more so after this coup d'etat attempt, this failed coup d'etat attempt with a fraudulent sultan parading around from AMPAC 2.0. We just keep going forward. You stole the website, here's another one. You stole the IDs, here's another one. We just rebuild. No big deal. You ain't gonna hold us hostage. We're capable of redoing everything. Have at it. Keep it. Keep it all. But let's see who hits that the the finish line first. And it shall be the Sharifan Empire under my leadership. Islam, long
Islam.
live the empire and his
Islam.
majesty, and his
Islam.
majesty the Sultan. Good evening,
Long
bros.
live,
Peace
Long
and love.
live
long
the
live the
empire.
empire
Islam.
and His
His
Majesty the
Majesty the
Sultan. Peace,
Sultan.
Moors.
Peace, Moors.
Islam, peace and love,
Long
Moors.
live the
Peace.
Moorish Empire.
Islam, peace and love.
Islam.
Long live the empire, His Majesty the Sultan.